Chapter 1475 Return. Chapter 1475 Return. ___. Immortal Island, Endless Sea, Grace Mainland. The Immortal Island today had become the area with the thickest heaven and earth energy on the Grace Mainland, and the liveliest city. The Immortal Island was managed by the Yang and Sha families. Many strong forces of the Agate Star area were based on the surrounding islands. Those forces were submitted to the Immortal Island. Inside a small valley on the island, a light door suddenly appeared, Yang walking out of the door in the next second. He faced the sky, closing his eyes to sense with a calm face. The Grace Mainland didn't have anything abnormal. As soon as he landed, his co-soul immediately contacted the entire continent. As his soul flickered, every slightest commotion in the continent had been projected in his mind like a clear picture. It was the privilege that only the master had. Oh! He couldn't help but scream. He found that the warriors of the bloodthirsty force like Yang Tian Emperor, Blood Devil, Leona, Fei Lan, and Ka Tuor had gathered by the island. Xia Xinyang, Feng Han, Ling Xing, Jiu Ti, and Bath were also on the Grace Mainland. He pondered for a while and then released the soul consciousness, calling his friends and family. Yang Tian Emperor and Blood Devil were cultivating. They lifted their heads and found Shi Yang's giant face created by the clouds in the sky. Shi Yang was like a god floating in the sky, sending his soul message. Come to the mountain on the Immortal Island. At the same time, the clouds in the sky where Xia Xinyang, Feng Han, Jiu Ti, and Bath were cultivating also created Shi Yang's face with the same message. The Heavenly Monster mountain range in the Vault of Heaven Sea area also had the same call. At the same time, in different corners of the Grace Mainland, the warriors who were related to Shi Yang also found his face in the sky. Shi Yang was like a god calling for his disciples. He asked his followers to come behind the mountain on the Immortal Island. When they received the message, they dropped all the activities they were performing to rush toward the meeting place. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The God Lord and Audrey walked out of the light door. Adele was the last one to arrive. The light behind Shi Yang closed and vanished. Something's wrong. As soon as God Lord Brian had descended, his face changed. His eyes gazed at the horizon as if he could cut through layers of spaces. The connection between the ancient God continent and I is completely cut off. I have no way to sense the commotion on the ancient God continent. I can't feel the aura of the God Fellows. Me neither. Audrey screamed bewilderedly. Audrey and the God Lord had fused with the origin of the God-blessed mainland and the ancient God continent. Logically, as long as they were in desolate territory, no matter how far they were from their homeland, they could still sense the aura of the two continents. At God Lord Brian's level, his soul could even contact the members on the ancient God continent. However, the connection between them and the origin was cut off. Being the leaders, but they couldn't sense the commotions on their own homelands, which scared them to the point of discoloring. They didn't know what had happened. Kang Yun is dead. Azure Dragon sensed for a while and then turned ashen. His origin was robbed. Who did that? Seems like many things have happened to the desolate territory. So strange. Right after DeCarlos arrived, his body flashed and then disappeared as if he had pierced through the space to leave. Shi Yang wanted to confirm the situation of the Agate Star area. Seeing DeCarlos leaving, he didn't want to waste his efforts. He just needed to wait for DeCarlos then. After several minutes, DeCarlos reappeared in a flash. His face was heavy, and his eyes astonished. So many star areas have merged with each other in the desolate territory. The barriers between the star areas have shattered as they came close together. And now, we have only 3 great star areas. There are so many layers of barriers between these 3 star areas. It seems all the available barriers of the star areas have piled up to protect the 3 star areas. It's really difficult for me to get through those barriers. DeCarlos bewilderedly said. Provide more details. Shi Yang snorted. If Shi Yang were rude like that earlier, DeCarlos would have taught him a lesson for sure. But, Shi Yang was at the second sky of Immortal Realm now, just like him, and the former could be even slightly stronger. DeCarlos didn't dare to look down on Shi Yang. He wasn't enraged, instead, he explained seriously. Agate Star area, fiery rain star area, fantasy misty star area, dry bone star area, fearsome hollow star area, prosaic star area, Sirius star area, black river star area, and earth eye star area have merged together. They are now a single great star area. Besides the Grace mainland, I can vaguely feel desolate around. Seems like it stays within this interstar area. Listening to him, everybody was frightened. Shi Yang closed his eyes to sense for a while. His soul consciousness pierced through space, moving around. A new star map emerged in his sea of consciousness. This interstar area consisted of so many star areas, with countless suns and moons, as well as billions of warriors dwelling on countless life stars. The forces from the agate star area like the drifting fire, Gu God sect, Bai family, Wu family, and Xiao family, were scattered in the new spectacular star area. They seemed ready for a great war that could burst out at any minute. True, many star areas have merged with each other. Shi Yang said with surprise. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Finally, his fellows had arrived. Yang Tian Emperor, Blood Devil, and the others had arrived first. They were so excited when they saw Shi Yang. Yang Tian Emperor had tears in his eyes, choking on his words, "You're still alive, boy." Soon, Xia Xinyang, Fu Wei, Ling Xing, Jiu Ti, and Bath arrived. Shi Yang was also emotional that many words were stuck in his throat. He didn't know how and what to tell them. What happened? Ming Hao saw Yang Tian Emperor and Blood Devil come, his face turning ferocious. "Why didn't you guys stay in the Blood Sea, our forbidden land? We had run away from there. I'm afraid we can't get in there again." Blood Devil forced a smile. He had also entered the immortal realm, and the life energy on him was fierce. He glanced at Xian He while shaking his head. "I'm afraid you guys can't go there either." As soon as he said that, the three chiefs of the bloodthirsty force including Xian He, Ming Hao, and Frederick urged their power Upanishads to activate the mark. After a while, their faces discolored, turning heavy and dark. Just like Blood Devil had said, they had lost the connection with the Blood Sea, their forbidden land. They had lost the bloodthirsty forces' headquarters. "Give it a try." They turned to Shi Yang. Shi Yang used the method he used to trigger the blood mark with, trying to connect to the whirlpool in the Blood Sea, but he got nothing. What happened? Shi Yang was so surprised. 100 years ago, Wedison came to the Blood Sea, our forbidden land. He had suddenly become so fierce and unrivaled, ruling over the entire Blood Sea. He said that he was the true heir of Bloodthirsty. He can use 8 power Upanishads and the devouring power Upanishad as well. He said that Shi Yang and the 3 great chiefs were dead, and he was the new master. After we found that things went wrong as many people had fought him and were devoured, we could only run away. He killed all the rebellious warriors, Blood Devil explained. Wedison, God Lord, Ming Hao, and Xian He screamed in unison. He was dead, wasn't he? Wedison was a hybrid between the God clan and the Man tribe. When he was young, he had swallowed Bloodthirst's bone that Gaddo had eroded. He then successfully transformed and obtained the terrifying corrosion power Upanishad. While fighting against Hui, the God Lord and Ming Hao had made use of him by implanting Bloodthirst's bones into his body, which had maximized his corrosion power Upanishad. He had wounded Hui and given Shi Yang a chance to get the dark energy and ascend his life form. At that time, Wedison's soul energy was burned, and he was dead when his energy ran out. How could he be resurrected? Mastered the 8 great evil powers and the devouring power Upanishad. His not Wedison. His the ring spirit, the soul that Xian Shan had summoned on the ancient god continent. His the young master of the devouring clan, Devour's later descendant. After Hui unsealed him, he had run away. He obtained Wedison's body, I suppose. At that time, Wedison's soul was destroyed, leaving a body full with Bloodthirst's remains. He has occupied the body. Shi Yang pondered and then continued, had fought against some devouring clan warriors in the Sea of Annihilation. I knew that some young master of the said clan had begun something. He has come to our desolate territory. Perhaps, his Devour's heir. The members of the devouring clan understood the 8 great evil powers, and Xian Shan's ring spirit had the inheritance of the devouring power Upanishad. When that one entered the blood vein ring and swallowed the original ring spirit, he had obtained the inheritance. He had enticed Shi Yang, trying to seize his body with many evil tricks. Eventually, Ming Hao had sealed him inside the blood vein ring. During the fight with Hui's power had helped him tear the seal, and that person had run away with the blood vein ring. He got Wedison's body, so now, he could exist in desolate territory as a real entity with a fleshy body and soul. Turns out it's him, Ming Hao, and Xian he wore a heavy complexion. How about bloodthirsty force? He has become the new master of bloodthirsty force. Besides us who ran away, the 8 branches of the bloodthirsty force have followed him. He's so intimidating, he's getting stronger day after day. Today, under his command, the dark abyss is towering over the ancient demon continent. That dark abyss seems to have a consciousness, slowly devouring the ancient demon continent. Blood Devil said. The Imperial Dark Tribe and the members of the Immortal Demon Clan are submitted to him. The Imperial Dark Tribe star area and the Immortal Demon Clan star area are adjoined along with many other smaller star areas. They are his territory now. The Dark Abyss seems to have life and consciousness. Ming Hao was so shocked that he couldn't help but yell, "It has awakened." Who? Many people didn't know the details. Ling Xing and the others were confused. Devour has awakened. The one that has occupied Wedison has awakened it. The ancient demon continents are part of Desolate. As the Dark Abyss is corroding the ancient demon continent, Devour's attempting to refine Desolate's body part. Ming Hao shouted. Chapter 1476, New Structure. Chapter 1476, New Structure. __. The Imperial Dark Tribe has followed him. Does it mean the God-blessed mainland has merged with that new star area too? Adele cried ear-piercingly. Yeah, right. The God-blessed mainland is right next to the ancient demon continent. Blood Devil explained. Devour is swallowing the ancient demon continent. Once it is finished, it will continue with the God-blessed mainland. The ancient demon continent and the God-blessed mainland are parts of Desolate. After Devour's done with it, I wonder what earth-shaking transformation would happen to the desolate territory. Ming Hao wore a grimace. What about the other great star area? God Lord Brian shouted. Yang Tian Emperor looked at him oddly. The center of that star area is the ancient God star area. The ancient God star area has merged with the fantasy sky star area, Broken Halls star area, Heavenly River Temple star areas, and dozens of major star areas the God Clan has conquered. It's the biggest star area now. The God Clan, the Tsunami Chamber of Commerce, the Broken Hall, and the Heavenly River Temple manage that interstar area. They worship Goddess Mother, and Tian Xie is their spokesman. The 4 great heavenly kings also serve the Goddess Mother. At this moment, they're the strongest force in this sea of stars. The God Lord paled, his eyes burning with a flame of wrath. Devour is eroding the ancient demon continent while Hui's attacking the ancient god continent. Seems the 2 absolute beginning creatures have eaten Desolate's clones throughout the recent 100 years. DeCarlo sighed. The group of warriors from the space basin returning to the Grace mainland looked grave when they understood the current situation of desolate territory. A black cluster of clouds shadowed their souls, suffocating them. It was the threat from the 2 absolute beginning creatures. Hui and Devour were the 2 existences at the same level as Desolate. Because of many reasons, the 2 great absolute beginning creatures had been dormant for so many years. As they had finally awakened, they wouldn't want to stay quiet anymore. They would raise a storm in desolate territory, stirring up the entire universe. Why have so many star areas joined together? Xian he was panic-stricken. It was just a short period of 100 years. How could desolate territory change so much? What happened after all? As the star areas are changing greatly, I'm afraid Desolate is losing its control. Desolate's losing its supreme power over its own territory. It's not a good sign, Ming Hao remarked. Where's Kang Yun? Azure Dragon wore a cold face, looking at the members of the Heavenly Monster Tribe. He asked Hugo, the connection I lay on him is gone. Has something bad happened to him? Azure Dragon had high expectations from Kang Yun. He worried that the latter would be killed, so he had laid a wisp of his soul consciousness on him to get updated with his situation. During the time he had wandered in the chaotic space basin, because Desolate was closed, he couldn't sense Kang Yun's commotions. Today, as he had entered Desolate territory once again, he should have been able to find Kang Yun easily with his realm. However, the connection was gone. Kang Yun is dead, Hugo stooped, not daring to look at him. How did he die? Azure Dragon was enraged. Kang Yun had a dispute with Ghost Hunter. They burst out fighting furiously, and Ghost Hunter killed him in that fight. Ghost Hunter had swallowed him. Hugo remembered the old story, causing his face to panic. The other members of the Heavenly Monster tribe who came with him also had a grimace. It seemed they didn't want to recall that incident. Ghost Hunter swallowed him? How could it happen? Shi Yang was also panic-stricken. It's true. Ghost Hunter's competence has been increasing rapidly and vigorously. It seems like he would never stop growing. Hugo winced. That year, you had spent a lot of efforts on Ghost Hunter. You wanted him to become the next chief of the Heavenly Monster tribe. Kang Yun was discontented, apparently. Holy Beast Azure Dragon went numb, his face bitter. I was wrong. I should have predicted their conflict. Too bad I wasn't here. Otherwise, I could have stopped them. Pausing for a while, he suddenly remembered him, shouting, "Where's Ghost Hunter?" Missing, Hugo shook his head. After he had swallowed Kang Yun, we tried to capture him and wait until you came back to solve the situation. But his animal instinct burst out, and he escaped the Grace mainland. We haven't seen him ever since. No one knows where he is. Missing. Azure Dragon was baffled. He was shocked, not knowing how to deal with this. We bid farewell here. Godlord Brian resumed his cold, arrogant appearance after keeping silent for a long time. He nodded at Shi Yang and Ming Hao, but didn't regard anybody else. He flew out of the Grace mainland, turning into a jet of light and zooming away quickly. Xian He, I'm going to the Bloodsea Forbidden Land. What about you guys? Ming Hao turned to Xian He and Frederick. Of course, we have to go back there and check. We want to observe that Wedison, said Xian He. Our Imperial Dark Tribe has submitted to him. I also want to go there and see. I can't believe that he's the one Shen Shan had summoned from outer space. Adele sighed. I want to go with them. Audrey's clear eyes looked at Shi Yang, who gave her a slight nod. You're not going to the Bloodsea Forbidden Land? Ming Hao was surprised. To me, my family and friends on the Grace mainland are more important than anything else. Until now, I've never been interested in being the master of the bloodthirsty force. I am used to working alone. I don't have the talent to direct a force. Shi Yang thought and then smiled. Ming Hao, you're at the peak of Immortal Realm, just one step away from the Territory Ancestor Realm. I think it wouldn't be a problem when you go back there with Xian He and Frederick, as long as you don't rebel against Devour. At your current realm, I can't force you anymore. Stay here as you wish. Ming Hao didn't want to talk him into this. Godlord Brian, Ming Hao, Xian He, Frederick, Audrey and the Imperial Dark Tribe experts left the Grace mainland immediately. As Ming Hao was a master in space power Upanishad, he created many space passages after they had leaped up. Shortly after, their auras disappeared. What about you guys? Shi Yang turned to DeCarlos. I'm going to see if I can find Desolate. I want to check its brain. DeCarlos looked pensive. I can feel that Desolate is right in this star area. I know it has to mind the change of the Sea of Stars more than anybody else. I want to pry and see what it thinks about this. Sounds good, Shi Yang nodded. With that, DeCarlos and Lei Di left the Grace mainland as well. Shortly after, only Holy Beast Azure Dragon stayed. The Grace mainland was the ancestral land of the Heavenly Monster tribe, and Azure Dragon was one of the holy ancestors of this tribe. He had to stay here and protect the Heavenly Monster tribe. He needed to use the force of the tribe and his power to find Ghost Hunter. He thought that Ghost Hunter was stronger than Kang Yun, so he was more suitable to become the next chief of the Heavenly Monster tribe. Shi Yang, what happened? Why had you guys disappear for 100 years? After all those people had left, Xia Xinyang's eyes showed her deepest affection while asking. Yang Tian Emperor, Blood Devil, Leona, and Fei Lan looked at him as well, waiting for his explanation. It's a long story. Behind the mountain in the immortal island, Shi Yang forced a smile, telling the others his experiences. He met Hui in the chaotic space basin, who defeated him and then sent him to the sea domain of nihility. Shi Yang told them every detail of the story. The ones who stayed here were all his friends and family. Shi Yang trusted them, so he didn't need to conceal things. They listened to what he had experienced during 100 years and sighed in fear. They were touched when they heard about the marvels of the sea domain of nihility, and the intimidating warriors there. It was the first time they knew that desolate territory was just one of the hundreds of thousands of territories. It was just a drop in the sea. However, they were astounded when they found that Shi Yang had reached the second sky of Immortal Realm. At his age, it was incredible as he could break through from the incipient God Realm to the second sky of Immortal Realm in just 100 years. People felt minute compared to him, knowing that their realm was too low. Shi Yang talked for a long time. He had told them everything he had experienced in 100 years. It seemed he had replayed the events one more time. Eventually, he turned to the others, talking happily. It's good to see that you guys are safe and have made good progress. Yeah, I need time to reorganize my thoughts and think about the changes of the 3 great star areas. I need time to rest. People nodded, indicating their understanding. They knew he was baffled on seeing the changes of desolate territory. He would need time to adjust himself. They began to leave, but some chose to stay, cultivating in the cave near the valley. They were waiting for him to give them directions after he woke up. He really had a lot of things to think and clarify. He vaguely felt that the earth-shaking changes of desolate territory weren't simply because of desolate losing control of the territory. Perhaps, it was because of Hui and Devour. In his incipient extent, he had experienced a lot of things. He had seen a similar structure of heaven and earth at its very dawn. He had learned a lot, and now, he needed time to rearrange his thoughts. He had a seal in his host soul, which had been there since he got the devouring power Upanishad. That seal stayed in his soul, and he could use it to send the energy to the warriors cultivating the 8 great evil power Upanishads. What was that blood mark? He had thought for a long time, and had finally come to a conclusion. He guessed it was the absolute beginning original symbol of devouring power Upanishad that Bloodthirsty had got. When he received his inheritance, it had entered his soul as well. He wanted to break that blood mark to understand the root. He needed to comprehend the origin in his co-soul to seize the memory of the clone and know what had happened between Hui, Desolate, and Devour. Hui, Devour, and Desolate were the absolute beginning creatures. Why did these 3 have to entangle with each other for billions of years? Why had Hui been dormant in the chaotic space basin? Why had Devour left the devouring clan in the sea domain of nihility to fight against Desolate? Why had Desolate been divided into 5 pieces, the 5 ancient continents? There were so many secrets, so many knots he needed to untie. That was the only way he could deal with the complicated, knotty situation of desolate territory. Chapter 1477, Goddess Mother. Chapter 1477, Goddess Mother. Ancient God Star Area. Countless stars sparkled like diamonds, decorating the dark outer space. Those stars twinkled magnificently as if they were the eyes peeking at the world. The ancient God Star Area today was pitilessly vast, created by dozens of star areas. There was no barrier between the star areas. The battleships, space shuttles, war chariots, and warriors moved around freely. The God Clan, the Tsunami Chamber of Commerce, the Broken Hall, and Heavenly River Temple, as well as dozens of strong forces now served a new goddess. This goddess was called Mother Goddess. Tian Xie was the spokesman of Mother Goddess. The 4 great heavenly kings were her loyal henchmen, and the chiefs of the 12 families of the God Clan had become her god guards. In a corner of the star area, a silhouette appeared. He was baffled, watching the brand new star area as he looked lost and worried. He was God Lord Brian, who had commanded the God Clan and so many experts to kill Bloodthirsty. He had helped the God Clan thrive for 10,000 years. Today, desolate territory had only 3 star areas: the ancient God Star Area, the ancient Demon Star Area, and the Grace Mainland Star Area. The 3 new star areas had been named after the 3 great ancient continents. The barriers between the 3 star areas were extremely thick and terrifying. The ordinary immortal realm experts couldn't even pierce through the barriers to move between the 3 star areas. Brian was at the peak of immortal realm, and he also had the dark energy. As time flew, he had transformed his incipient extent to approach the territory ancestor realm. He was an entirely worthy expert. After 100 years, he had finally returned to the ancient God-star area, the ancestral land he had pushed to the peak of glory. But now, everything was beyond his reach. Today, the ancient God-star area was even more immensely vast than when the God clan was at their peak of glory. The stars here were as many as the sand grains, where dwelled countless creatures and warriors. Unfortunately, he didn't have a place here. Lingering in the corner for a while, he had so many thoughts, but he didn't forget the reason why he was here. A beam of holy light extended from his body, and he then disappeared. Above the ancient God continent, Brian's body seemed like it was made of pieces of broken stars. It was his real body. He observed the ancient God continent, his face pale. He felt like a sharp knife had just stabbed into his head. It was a terrible pain to him. There was no member of the God clan operating on the ancient God continent. The ancestral land of the God clan, the land that gave birth to his clan, was now covered in layers of brilliant halos. People who didn't know the situation would think it was so magnificent, and the ancient God clan was beautiful beyond comparison. However, his eyes could pierce through the layers of halos to see the situation of the continent. The massive snake body of absolute beginning creature Hui was coiling around the ancient God continent under the rainbow halos. The 12 snake heads of Hui were digging in different areas on the ancient God continent. The heads dug into the caves, sea, and mountains, nibbling the continent. The ancient God continent was shrunk to 1/3, many lakes and mountains were gone. Just like a horde of beasts having a feast, they were eating the ancient God continent, a part of desolate. He observed the ancient God continent, his heart bitter cold like the winter. A flame of anger moved in his eyes as he looked to Hui nibbling at the continent. His soul felt cold and painful. It was the scream and cry of the origin in his soul. He understood clearly that the ancient God continent was the body of the origin, just like the flesh body of a creature. Today, the 12 heads of Hui were the leeches that were sucking blood and origin's energy of the ancient God continent. The mountains and rivers had disappeared as their energy, the basic energy of heaven and earth, was consumed. I won't let you satisfy yourself. I'm back, and I will take back everything that belongs to me. The God Lord muttered, his eyes bright. He turned into a dazzling sun with a scorching light and heat. The heating light emerged dazzlingly above the ancient God continent. The holy energy rippled, making many experts of the ancient God continent scream in fear. Ah! His back. He wants to attack Goddess Mother. He shouldn't return. The warriors scattered on the stars around the ancient God continent looked at the blazing flame, wearing different countenances. Some looked complicated, some were unaffected, some looked bitter and painful. Magically, the tsunami star and the heavenly fantasy star were around the ancient God continent. The host stars of the big forces were pulled here, surrounding the ancient God continent altogether. They protected the ancient God continent in the center like thousands of stars protecting the moon. Tian Xie inside the subterranean world on the tsunami star opened his eyes, wearing a cold face. I didn't expect you to come back. Anyway, what can you do now? Goddess Mother is refining the ancient God continent. Nobody should disturb her. Seems like I have to get there. With that, he disappeared from the pond. In the next moment, Tianxin reappeared above the ancient God continent. Brian, how are you doing? Oh, you're fast. It took you only 100 years to come back. Hey, did you get anything from the absolute beginning vestige under the Sea of Annihilation? Goddess Mother sent her hope with you. We did hope that you would bring something magical back here. The God Lord was shocked. Tian Xie, Hui had thrown Ming Hao and me to the absolute beginning vestige on the seabed of the Sea of Annihilation too. His face changed instantly. Mother Goddess wanted you and Ming Hao to bring the Power Upanishad symbol tower back here. I wonder if you succeeded, Tian Xie remarked. He ignored the light power from the God Lord which had turned the latter into a burning sun. With the dark energy, the fierce, holy light expanded invisibly toward the halos above the ancient god continent. He attempted to dissolve the barriers Hui had created. Brian wore a cold face, but didn't answer. At this moment, he finally knew that it wasn't an accident that he and Ming Hao were trapped in the absolute beginning vestige. Hui did that on purpose. Hui knew the power Upanishad symbol tower was there. It hoped that Brian and Ming Hao could get the power Upanishad symbol tower. After he got the power Upanishad symbol tower, he would return to desolate territory to find Hui and take revenge, as well as everything they had lost in desolate territory. A light of realization flashed in Brian's head, causing him to discolor as he got the key. Hui needed the power Upanishad symbol tower, but it couldn't go to the Sea of Annihilation's seabed to get it. It threw him and Ming Hao there. It understood that he and Ming Hao would absolutely return to desolate territory. If they got the power Upanishad symbol tower, Hui would take it as soon as they came to desolate territory. He finally got it now. Unfortunately, Goddess Mother had overestimated you guys. It's obvious that you failed. Tian Xie gazed at him while shaking his head. You don't have that aura. You didn't return with the power Upanishad symbol tower. It's really bad, you know? If you have failed, I'm sure Ming Hao has failed too. Pausing for a while, Tian Xie snorted while shouting. Why are you still hiding? Show yourself and have fun with your old master. So many figures appeared around Brian. Unexpectedly, they were carefree, easygoing, light, and divine martial, the four heavenly kings. They had reached the third sky of immortal realm, and slightly understood the dark energy. At this moment, they had a fern-green snake mark on their foreheads. The great four heavenly kings looked unnatural. As soon as they appeared, they sighed, slightly bowing to greet Brian. Excellent. You're really excellent. Brian shook his head with a sneer. You helped the enemy and offered our ancestral land to Hui. Don't you care about our clan's future anymore? We just want to preserve our clan, easygoing sighed emotionally. If we don't surrender, the God clan will be erased from his sea of stars. They will kill all of us. We don't have a choice. We failed you. Carefree and the others lowered their heads as well. However, it happened. I hope you will understand and forgive us. Easygoing looked awkward. If Goddess Mother faces problems, we will be annihilated altogether. While she's refining the ancient god continent, we must ensure that she's safe. So, I'm sorry. Boom. And just like that, Easygoing took action, causing many meteors to shoot out. They looked as if they were piercing through the river of time from the past to future, darting toward Brian's chest. Almost at the same time, Carefree took out a crescent moon, pouring the star energy into it. The crescent moon sparkled and looked partially visible, quietly flying toward the God Lord. Light and Divine Marshal didn't say anything. They looked bitter when they activated their horrible energy. Light had turned into hundreds of dazzling light beams while Divine Marshal swelled up like a mountain, attacking the God Lord furiously. His loyal subordinates were attacking him today. Brian felt so sorrowful that he couldn't even talk. He didn't bring the power Upanishad symbol tower. He doesn't have any value staying alive. Four heavenly kings, kill him. After he's killed, the bond in your hearts will be lifted. That's how you can enter the territory ancestor realm. Tian Xie enticed them. The four heavenly kings heard him and became fiercer. They did want to kill the God Lord at this moment. Just like what Tian Xie had said, the God Lord was the Mara in their hearts. This former master was like a mountain or a thick layer of black clouds that had shadowed their hearts. As long as the God Lord was alive, they would always feel the threat. They thought that the God Lord would kill them one day. As long as this threat existed, they could never ease their minds. The Mara would bind their hearts and affect their breakthrough in the future. Today, the God Lord had to die. The death of this former master would end every fear in their souls. Inside the seven-colored halos, a massive snakehead appeared above the God Zenith, the peak of glory that belonged to the God clan. This snakehead supported a magnificent throne where was seated an enchanting figure. She was Zi Yao. Zi Yao of today had a pair of seven-colored eyes. She was wearing an amethyst-purple dress which was draped loosely on the throne. She observed the battle between the God Lord and the 4 heavenly kings. It wasn't that she didn't have human emotions in her eyes like before. She looked as though she was very interested in watching the battle. Xi Yarrow today seemed to have human emotions, and had become more like the Xi Yarrow from the past. Chapter 1478, The Dark Abyss. Chapter 1478, The Dark Abyss. The 4 heavenly kings, light, divine, martial, easygoing, and carefree, had taken action altogether, surrounding God Lord Brian. They brutally showed him the power of the third sky of immortal realm that they had just attained not long ago. A cold crescent moon flew out, capable of piercing through the sky. The water of the heavenly river rose torrentially, swarming toward the God Lord. Heavenly King Light was hovering in the center of a sea of golden light. The sea of lights had so many mirrors that reflected the lights, making them even more dazzling. Each bunch of his light could crush an entire star. At this moment, so many bunches of light were aiming at the God Lord, covering him. At the same time, Heavenly King Easygoing and Divine Marshal looked like ferocious statues. They had become tall like the giant gods that could tear the sky and crush the space into pieces. Tian Xie observed all this coldly. He didn't join this battle, his eyes sparkling maliciously. Meanwhile, the chiefs of the 12 families of the God Clan had arrived. They used to be the God Lord's henchmen, and now, they emerged, looking at him with a complicated face. The chiefs of the 12 families and many experts at the incipient God Realm all had a fern-green snake mark on their foreheads. It was the slave mark. Today, they were the slaves of absolute beginning creature Hui. They had to give Hui a wisp of their soul. As long as Hui flickered her mind, she could use the soul seal to kill them. If Hui were killed, the snake mark would explode, which would kill them altogether. God Lord Brian was fighting against the 4 heavenly kings. Seeing the familiar faces and the snake marks on their foreheads, he felt bitter and sorrowful. They were his fellows. Some of them were his later generation. They used to worship him as their ancestor, and he was their pride. But today, they were all Hui's slaves. They were here to kill him. The biggest pain in this world was seeing one's family try to kill oneself. To Brian, the wound in his soul this time would never fade away for the rest of his life. Why are you still idle? Tian Xie snorted. Goddess Mother down there is watching you. Don't you think you should do something for her? The chiefs of the 12 families turned to look at the ancient god continent instinctively. They did see a charming figure on the god zenith. It felt like someone was watching them. They felt shivers run down their spines instantly. Goddess Mother's refining the ancient god continent. She can't be disturbed. Your life and soul are related to her. If she suffers any damage, you will be doomed as well. I think I've made myself clear. Tian Xie said indifferently. The chiefs of the 12 families pondered for seconds, then gritted their teeth while hissing, Guys, join hands. We must force him to retreat. Wrong. It's not force him to retreat, it's kill. Kill him. Tian Xie corrected them coldly. If Brian isn't dead, he will come and bother Goddess Mother. You can't sleep well then either. So, he must die. Move. They stooped, their faces glum. The order was delivered. Many experts of the God Clan had joined hands with the 4 heavenly kings to attack Brian. Brian was facing the burning fire, sharp icicles, and lightning net alone. He was battling again several hundred warriors all by himself. The 4 heavenly kings were at the third sky of immortal realm, and had the dark energy too. Now, they could use the soul to build barriers. Moreover, Brian had dedicatedly taught them, so they had mastered the cooperative techniques in fighting. When the 4 of them confronted one warrior, their combined power was incredible. Under the attack of the 4 heavenly kings, Brian felt greatly hurt. He was in the same situation as Bloodthirsty that year. So many experts were surrounding and attacking him. Compared to Bloodthirsty, his situation was worse, because he had just reached the peak of immortal realm. That year, Bloodthirsty had entered the territory ancestor realm. Moreover, his own kind was attacking him, so he couldn't heartlessly assault anyone. His hands were tied. P2. He spurted blood, looking at a light lance in his chest. He shifted his cold look toward Heavenly King Light. Light was looking at him with an indifferent look. He didn't look ashamed, only coldness stayed in his eyes. His line of sight swept over Divine Marshal, Easygoing, and the juniors at the incipient god realm from his clan. He found them all having cold eyes. They didn't consider him as their leader, they looked as though they hated the fact that they couldn't kill him earlier. Boom. Boom. Brian's heart felt colder and more desperate as all sorts of energy attacks shelled on him. Finally, he had recognized that the God clan today wasn't his clan anymore, and the members of the clan weren't his fellows, his kind anymore. The more wounds he received, the number he got. The pain in his body was far behind the agony in his heart. Good. Very good. Brian faced the sky and laughed, looking disheveled. The precious gleam of indifference and pride had left him. He coldly glanced at Tianxie and then the charming, lazy figure underneath while shouting, "Today, I, Brian, pledge that I will not remember the old relationship. When I've entered the territory ancestor realm, I will come back." Then, he turned into a jet of light, flying toward the barriers ahead. Along his way, several incipient god realm experts of the 12 families were crushed into pieces, falling. It was the first time he had taken action. This assault meant that he had totally woken up. He no longer treated them as his fellows or remembered the old solidarity. Brian broke the besiege and dashed away, seeing which, Tianxie was a little bewildered. His figure flashed when he crossed the 7-colored layer above the ancient god continent, kneeling in front of Zi Yarrow's throne on the god zenith. With his head low to show respect, he asked for her direction. "Goddess Mother, what should we do to Brian?" "Send the 4 great heavenly kings to kill him. It's their business. They should end it themselves." Zi Yarrow squinted while looking at Tianxie and talking naturally. He didn't bring the power Upanishad symbol tower. It also means Ming Hao couldn't either. You should pay attention to the ancient demon continent. We don't want Devour to rob the power Upanishad symbol tower under our nose. "I understand," Tianxie replied. He then flew away from the ancient god continent, talking to the 4 great heavenly kings. "Order from Goddess Mother. You are in charge of chasing and killing Brian. Here's your Mara. If he doesn't die, you will never advance another step." The 4 great heavenly kings kept silent. After a while, they left without a word. The direction they left in was the one the God Lord had taken while breaking the besiege and running away. To break through further, they had made up their mind. They had to kill Brian. The ancient demon star area was also immensely vast. This new interstar area was composed of the god-blessed star area, the ancient demon continent of the immortal demon clan, and many other smaller star areas. Bloodthirst's force managed this area as the warriors cultivating the 8 evil power Upanishad gathered here. It was a barren, isolated asteroid. Ming Hao, Xian He, Frederick, and Adele stopped there. They observed the ancient demon continent from a distance. Their faces looked so cold, as if they were about to frost. From a distance, the 2 massive planets looked like a pair of conjoined twins. Darkness was shadowing the ancient demon continent. Above the ancient demon continent, the dark abyss was like a massive black hole. It released the darkness, covering the entire ancient demon continent. A flow of Ming Hao's soul approached the place to see clearly. After 10,000 years, the ancient demon continent had developed vitality again. The greenery covered the entire place, filled with lush mountains and clear lakes. But at this moment, the thick, inky black clouds were like a massive beast opening its mouth to swallow the ancient demon continent. Billions of twinkling starlight dots were moving toward the dark abyss. Along the way, it looked like the transition from spring to winter. Plants and grass withered and died, rivers were droughty, insects and fish died everywhere. It was a scene of despair and desolation. If this continent were a human, his vitality was being drawn away little by little. The ancient demon continent was heading toward death, to its extinction. At the same time, its death would nourish the dark abyss. Deep inside the dark abyss was the endless blood sea which had the islands of Bloodthirst's force. At this moment, the dark abyss was closed. Ming Hao's soul couldn't explore further. He retrieved his soul consciousness and then told the others what he had explored. Devours swallowing the ancient demon continent. He's not free to attack the God-blessed mainland yet. The God-blessed mainland is sealed. Our fellows of the Imperial Dark Tribe have moved out. I think our homeland's temporarily safe. Should we go to the Bloodsea Forbidden Land? Asked Xian He. It's Devour's body. He has awakened now. If we go there, we don't know what could happen. Adele hesitated. Devour should be very terrifying. Our master Ha attacked it and put it into dormancy. It means that the absolute beginning creatures aren't invincible. Ming Hao shook his head. He has woken up, and is swallowing the ancient demon continent. During this process, I think it doesn't have the extra power to care about us. So, I think we don't need to face it directly. We just need to face Wedderson. Listening to him, Adele and the others nodded as they thought that it was logical. They discussed for a while and then decided to enter the dark abyss. Several days later, they arrived at the dark abyss. Looking at the jet-black whirlpool, they felt a little helpless. In the past, they could get in and out there easily. But now, they didn't know how to enter. Eventually, they recognized that dark abyss was part of Devour, and it was almost impossible to sneak in without alerting it. While they were hesitant, countless dark clouds churned and flew out of the dark abyss. Wedderson appeared first. His eyes were strange as he smiled oddly, his voice dark and sorrowful. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Randolph, Conley, and Split, the warriors who had submitted to Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick, gathered by Wedderson. They looked at Xian He and Ming Hao with dark faces and cold eyes. There were many strangers in this group, but Ming Hao winced when his eyes raked through them. Those strange faces were the secret pieces of chess he had arranged 10,000 years ago. He had given them the 8 evil power Upanishads, making them hide in different star areas to work for him. They were the elites of his soul control force. Today, they had followed Wedderson. All of them had a small mark on their foreheads. It was a black hole, Devour's private crest. It was clear that all of them had followed Devour, and had now become Wedderson's loyal warriors. Chapter 1479 Link Up the Territories. Chapter 1479 Link Up the Territories. __. After all, who are you? Ming Hao looked at Wedderson, his face turning dark. He knew that Wedderson would have a strong support if he dared to come here. Hence, he discreetly assessed the latter, causing his visage to change. Wedderson had a brutal, terrifying aura that was thick to the point of almost materializing. It seemed like he had killed billions of creatures. His murderous aura was like a long river that could frighten even Ming Hao's soul. Wedderson had an extremely evil power which emitted an aura that could vaguely suppress Ming Hao's soul control power Upanishad. The latter couldn't sense his current realm. And, the warriors surrounding him all had a profound realm. Apparently, they had made a clear breakthrough, harvesting major benefits after deciding to follow Wedderson. Shi Yang didn't tell you anything? Wedderson laughed evilly. Shi Yang came to the Sea of Annihilation. He met the devouring clan members and got the power Upanishad symbol tower. He killed Gan Fu and Chi Mo of our clan. Who am I, you say? Shi Yang's right. You're the young master something of the devouring clan. Ming Hao looked shocked as he finally confirmed the truth. Suddenly, he changed his face while shouting, how did you know Shi Yang got the power Upanishad symbol tower? How did you know we killed Gan Fu and Chi Mo? You did that. Wedderson's eyes were so cold. You can't escape death as you have killed my fellows. You think you could hide on returning to desolate territory? I am Pu Tai, young chief of the devouring clan. When I was really young, my father had given me the power Upanishad. To contact our ancestor and find the lost inheritance, do you know how much the devouring clan had to pay? The one calling himself Pu Tai had the corners of his mouth twitched. To contact the ancestor, my clan had sacrificed millions of fellows. We used their blood to create the sacrificial altar, and even the territory ancestors of our clan had to damage themselves to contact the ancestor. To enter desolate territory and cooperate with our ancestors' plan, I, the young chief, had to detonate myself and come here with only the soul. I had stayed inside that ring for hundreds of years. To awaken our ancestor, For the eternal power of the devouring clan, we have had sacrificed too much. Pu Tai's eyes raked through Ming Hao, Shen He, and the others. 10,000 years ago, Bloodthirsty, the traitor, had betrayed our ancestor. He had rebelled, ambushed, and sealed our ancestor while he was fighting against Desolate and got hurt. His devouring power Upanishad and the 8 great evil power Upanishads were bestowed by my ancestor. He had taken things that belonged to our ancestor to grow you and create Bloodthirst's force. Today, I, Pu Tai, will inherit everything that belongs to us. Everything's predestined. The more he talked, the more furious Pu Tai got. Toward the end, he was almost frantic. It's your ancestor who made use of him first. He wanted to use him to destroy Desolate and refine it. He didn't come with a good will. As he failed, whom should he blame? Ming Hao signaled Shen He and the others to keep silent. He wanted to get some more information or even secrets from Pu Tai. Our ancestor had given him the inheritance. Without our ancestor, he wouldn't have had such intimidating abilities, and you wouldn't have the bloodthirsty force, let alone your power. If you want to calculate, the bloodthirsty force is a branch of our devouring clan with the power Upanishads from our ancestor. You're our servants, because the power Upanishads you got were from our clan. Pu Tai bellowed. What the heck is he talking about? Shen He sneered. Arrogant and ignorant. Frederick snorted. Bloodthirst's inheritance was bestowed by my ancestor. Now, my ancestor has awakened, and is eating the ancient demon continent. The members of the bloodthirsty force with the blood mark now have another mark. The bloodthirsty force is now under my command. After our ancestor has refined the ancient demon continent and the god-blessed mainland, we will surpass all the races in the sea domain of nihility. We will become the race that tops and leads the sea of stars forever. Pu Tai laughed. In your dream, dummy. Ming Hao was impatient when the other didn't provide a lot of useful information. When Devour's refining the ancient demon continent, it can't join the battle. Do you think you can stop us from breaking this? Haha. Pu Tai laughed like crazy while pointing at Ming Hao. You're only at the immortal realm. You're strong in desolate territory, but in the sea domain of nihility, what do you think you are? Pu Tai said as his face turned dark. So, you don't know how I know all the things that happened in the sea domain of nihility, and the incidents under the sea of annihilation? Ming Hao was perplexed. But in the next moment, he was shaken hard as he screamed. You've connected the sea domain of nihility? You're smart. A cold voice arose from a dark abyss and a black cluster of clouds flew toward Pu Tai. A senile fellow of the devouring clan appeared. He was bony with eyes like snakes, and behind him was the endless darkness. As soon as he emerged, the entire light around him was devoured. Young chief, the old man nodded at Pu Tai, you've been truly laborious. For the great plan of our race, you've sacrificed a lot. Yeah, it's lucky that we've almost got it. Ming Hao felt shivers running down his spine. He looked at the old man and finally understood the situation. Run. Now. Ming Hao flipped his hand, opening a light door as his voice thundered. He's at the territory ancestor realm. Go back to the Grace mainland and find Shi Yang. Countless shadows of Ming Hao forced Adele and Audrey into the door. Almost at the same time, Ming Hao bravely dashed toward the devouring clan old man. He had sobered now. Being the chief of Soul Control Force, he had been in the Bloodsea Forbidden Land for 10,000 years. He knew that the central island was the magical station that could pierce through layers of spaces. However, it needed the Blood Vein Ring and Bloodthirst's Air to activate. Thus, that sacrificial altar had always been sealed. But now, as Pu Tai got Wedison's body, which had the aura of Bloodthirst's remains, and the ring spirit, he also had obtained the devouring power Upanishad. As he could wake up Devour, he had controlled everything in the Bloodsea Forbidden Land, which meant he could open the sacrificial altar. Pu Tai knew about the incidents in the Sea of Annihilation. It proved that the sacrificial altar had been opened, and also that this area had been connected to the devouring clan's territory in the Sea of Annihilation. So, it wasn't strange that the experts of the devouring clan could come here. As it was one of the 7 great clans of the sea domain of nihility, The devouring clan had territory ancestor realm experts. In desolate territory, territory ancestors were invincible existences. As soon as he saw the bony old man, Ming Hao got it. He knew if he didn't make up his mind quickly, everybody would be killed. Thus, he decided to make time for Audrey and the others to return to the Grace mainland and find Shi Yang without a bit of hesitation. Shi Yang was at the second sky of Immortal Realm, with so many secrets and supernatural powers. The Grace mainland was his world. In that world, he would be way more intimidating. Audrey and Adele could get rid of the devouring clan and Pu Tai as long as they got there. In just a blink of an eye, Ming Hao had made a plan. He resolutely tore the space and threw Audrey's team together with Xian He and Frederick through the light door. He had used the dark energy to create his strongest attack. While he was moving toward the devouring clan old man, a dark abyss arose above his head. It was his incipient extent, which looked like the netherworld of Nine Serenity, with many ghosts, as well as brutal and resentful souls. Those souls rolled like waves toward the old man. Just a short step away from the territory ancestor realm, a hidden danger. We must eliminate him soon. The eyes of the old man flared strangely as he focused on Ming Hao, not minding that Xian He and Frederick had left. In his mind, Xian He and the others were at only the immortal realm, and didn't have the dark energy. It would take a lot more time for them to reach the territory ancestor realm. It meant they couldn't cause any threat or effect to the devouring clan in the future. So, he let them escape, because he was confident that he could chase after them later. He could give them some time to live. But, he could not give Ming Hao any time. If Ming Hao had more time, he could break through to the territory ancestor realm. And once he reached the territory ancestor realm, Ming Hao would become a true threat to the devouring clan. He would even affect their ancestors' refining process due to his terrifyingly destructive power. The endless darkness expanded from the old man, and all of the light was swallowed by it. Slowly, the entire area didn't have a single beam of light left. The warriors here couldn't see anything else, not even their own fingers. Their soul consciousness couldn't sense anything either. This kind of darkness didn't affect just the vision, but also the soul. It was the real power of the Dark Power Upanishad. Ming Hao and his incipient extent disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind nothing. There was no sound or energy fluctuation, no one knew what had happened. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many figures zoomed over from the horizon of the Grace mainland, landing grumblingly. They were Xian He, Frederick, Audrey, and Adele. They landed on the immortal island while thundering, Shi Yang, Shi Yang, Shi Yang. Shi Yang was sitting inside a gorge behind the immortal island like a rock, his face nonchalant. He had sat there for a long time. Blood Devil, Yang Tian Emperor, and the others were sitting around him. Seeing him absorbed into his thought, they began to cultivate as well. After the God Lord and Ming Hao had left for several days, someone was calling Shi Yang with a voice the entire Grace mainland could hear. Everybody was surprised, and then saw Xian He, Frederick, and Audrey crazily flying toward the immortal island. Ming Hao's in trouble. Xian He turned into a bloodlight, standing in front of Shi Yang and shouting, "The territory ancestor realm expert of the devouring clan has come to desolate territory. Ming Hao's captured in the dark abyss. He's in danger. Shi Yang, please save my uncle. I'm begging you," cried Adele. "You're the new master of Bloodthirsty. You're responsible for us. You must fight for us," Frederick shouted all of a sudden. Chapter 1480 Ignite. Chapter 1480 Ignite. __. Xian He, Frederick, and the others had returned from the ancient demon continent. They were extremely restless, as if they had a flame burning their hearts. They tried to find Shi Yang everywhere on the immortal island, their calls reverberating in the entire mainland. Inside the gorge behind the immortal island, Shi Yang closed his eyes, his face nonchalant as if he was absorbed in his comprehension process. Yang Tian Emperor and Blood Devil wore a cold face, stopping Xian He. He's comprehending his power. He needs quietness. What has happened? Yang Tian Emperor asked in a low voice. Ming Hao's in danger in the ancient demon continent. A territory ancestor of the devouring clan has captured him. I'm afraid he can't escape. Xian He rarely looked this panicked. Ming Hao used space energy to open a passage to bring us back here. But he can't escape. He simply explained the situation. Yang Tian Emperor discolored. Territory ancestor realm? Bloodthirstis level? The surrounding warriors felt chilled when they heard that. They turned to look at Xian He with a malicious thought. Territory ancestor? What can Shi Yang do if he goes there? Are you telling him this to get him killed? Xia Xin Yang's bright eyes turned cold. It's your trouble. Solve it yourself. Swoosh, swoosh. A lightning-like figure conjured in the void. It was De Carlos. He was bewildered, asking, Xian He, you're here too? He then turned to Shi Yang. Right then, I got something to tell you. The 4 heavenly kings are after God Lord Brian. The 4 heavenly kings are all at the 3rd sky of Immortal Realm. After they followed Hui and Tian Xie, they obtained the dark energy. As they've joined hands, Brian's situation isn't really good. Pausing for a while, he asked, do you want to get involved in this? Get involved? How? Adele's beautiful face had an ash-grey shadow, her eyes gloomy. My brother, Ming Hao's trapped by a territory ancestor from the devouring clan. His situation isn't good either. Who cares about God Lord Brian? The 4 heavenly kings are after the God Lord. Yang Tian Emperor and Blood Devil had a twinge in their nerves. The series of incidents had baffled them. They suddenly recognized that after Shi Yang's team had returned, the desolate territory was now an ignited dynamite. It would go off soon. The God Lord was chased by the 4 heavenly kings, and Ming Hao was confined by the territory ancestor of devouring clan. As soon as the 2 peerless experts of desolate territory returned, they had been sunk deeply in trouble. What should they do? They followed their instincts to Immortal Island. Deep in their hearts, they had all laid their hopes on Shi Yang. After a short time spent in the sea domain of nihility, Shi Yang had reached the 2nd sky of Immortal Realm. This mysterious young man had become their last resort. Shi Yang had stood quietly in the gorge for a long time, and suddenly opened his eyes. He now had a long, archaic aura, as if he had slumbered for tens of thousands of years. After a flash, he came over to Xian He and De Carlos, asking, tell me the situation one more time. Xian He and De Carlos told him about the situation of Ming Hao and the God Lord in detail. Can't believe the devouring clan is connected to desolate territory and the incident on the seabed of the Sea of Annihilation. They know about the Power Upanishad symbol tower too. It's not good. After listening to the others, Shi Yang nodded and then quieted down. The other didn't dare to disturb him, waiting for his opinion in silence. Hui, Tian Xie, and the 4 heavenly kings were the peerless characters in the ancient Godstar area now. Currently, they weren't strong enough to resist such experts. The territory ancestor of the devouring clan, Pu Tai, and Devour in the ancient Demonstar area were even fiercer. Unless Shi Yang broke through to the territory ancestor realm, they didn't know what method they could use to solve this problem. They looked at Shi Yang with hope and insecurity. After a while, Shi Yang's face emitted a halo that chilled people. With a sharp look in his eyes, he said, desolate territory today is out of our control. It's not something we can manage anymore. The absolute beginning creatures Hui and Devour have ruled 2 territories. Added with the territory ancestor of the devouring clan. If so, let the entire desolate territory boil. Sizzle. 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 Rays of strange, magical light weaved in his eyes, congregating in one spot. All of a sudden, a light door appeared in front of his chest. It was a space door that ran directly to the territory entrance in the space basin. What do you mean? De Carlos looked baffled. All the races in the sea domain of nihility are searching for desolate territory and me. They're interested in the absolute beginning creature desolate. I guess they are interested in Hui and Devour too. As the devouring clan has come, we should open the entrance the desolate territory so that more experts of the sea domain of nihility can come. Shi Yang said crazily. Are you crazy? You're crazy. Once the experts of the sea domain of nihility come to desolate territory, the entire territory can't live in peace. Who can stop those devils? Xian He, Frederick, and Audrey screamed, feeling scared and chilled. Shi Yang's madness had frightened them. Isn't it bad enough now? Shi Yang's voice was harsh. Hui and Devour are nibbling and eroding Desolate's parts. They're attacking Desolate, and Desolate doesn't have the power to resist. Today, the territory ancestor of the Devouring clan has arrived. If we don't stir up some changes, we will die altogether once they have finished off Desolate. What difference would there be if we let the other experts come? Would the worst consequences be different? Stooping to see the Grace mainland underneath, his eyes turned strange. Perhaps, it also wants some earth-shaking change to overturn this bad situation. Without more explanation, Shi Yang flashed, swaying through the light door. The light door closed slowly. Shi Yang reappeared in the chaotic space basin. After a gleam, he entered the Desolate Territory's entrance precisely, as if he had done it before. Jumping into it, the terrifying water pressure slapped him. He urged the power Upanishad, following the way Bloodthirsty had taken a long, long time ago to move deeper into the Sea of Annihilation's seabed. The water pressure became more horrible. After a long time, he was shaken as he recognized that he had actually entered the Sea of Annihilation's seabed. A thought popped up in his head. He teleported and came to the broken star field where he had collected the Little Bear constellation. He rubbed some rocks and became surprised. Those broken stars had a powerful soul energy fluctuation. The soul energy congregated, creating many images. Shi Yang saw Mai Ji when she was dormant. Eventually, the image changed into a little figure. It was a little girl who talked like an old woman. This child, Mai Ji, I brought her home. She's all right. She's going to be the next territory ancestor of the Phantom Clan. If you want to contact the Phantom Clan, you can come to any base of the Phantom Clan to talk. And, Hero from the Whitebone Clan also wants to find you. He doesn't mean harm. This visual soul message had been here for dozens of years, waiting for only him. Those images were animated. Shi Yang rubbed the stone, his face filled with surprise. How fierce was the warrior who could leave a visual message that hadn't faded for dozens of years like that? He immediately recognized that it was the superb expert of the Phantom Clan. Shi Yang was surprised when the other didn't seem to mean harm. It seemed she just wanted to talk to him. Shi Yang was more amazed when she mentioned Hero of the Whitebone Clan. Pondering for a while, he disguised and moved forward. He came to the surface of the sea domain of Nihility, heading to a city to gather information he had missed during dozens of years. The members of the Whitebone Clan were trying hard to find the expert with life power Upanishad to wake up their two precursors. That granny of the Phantom Clan had slaughtered and forced Feral and Neptune to run away, retracting their heads. He got the direction shortly and found the base the Phantom Clan had re-established in the Sea of Annihilation. Through the Phantom Clan, he also contacted the Whitebone Clan, giving them the coordinates of the Desolate Territory's entrance. The Phantom Clan's Fairyland headquarters. Mai Ji was refining her territory. Today, her makings were more powerful and elegant than in the past. She had finally reached the territory ancestor realm and become an important expert of the Phantom Clan. She was in charge of collecting, sorting, and distributing intelligence for the Phantom Clan. She had always paid attention to the base in the Sea of Annihilation. Today, while she was playing with a crystal ball, flows of news came through it. A piece of news emerged on her palm, and her sexy body shook hard. Her body flashed, and she appeared in the holy land of the Phantom Clan. She found the little girl, talking respectfully and excitedly. "Granny, it's Shi Yang." He sent the news and location of Desolate Territory. He said that Desolate Territory now has two absolute beginning creatures, and the territory ancestor of the Devouring Clan has come using a secret technique. The little girl changed her face, her eyes emitting a bright light. "Excellent. Very excellent. Summon the hotshots. You come with me to the Sea of Annihilation, Holy Land, Whitebone Clan." Inside an imposing Whitebone mountain, Hero was listening to a member of his clan. After a while, he nodded, his eyes shooting a divine light. "The Phantom Clan's intelligence can't be wrong. We owe the Phantom Clan this time. As Shi Yang has proactively sent the message, I think he has got good feelings for our Whitebone Clan. What's going on? A clansman with a crystal-clear skeleton asked. Shi Yang, the one with the Power Upanishad symbol tower, sent the news and said that he wanted to use the Life Power Upanishad to help us. He also said that desolate territory now has 3 absolute beginning creatures, and even the territory ancestor of the devouring clan. He gave the precise coordinates and asked us to come find him there, said Hero. The man got his eyes brightened, talking resolutely. Is it true? Absolutely. Then, I'm going with you. Call my cousin. We will take his parents to desolate territory together. This time, we have to wake them up in desolate territory. They are our biggest assets. Certainly. Chapter 1481, Gather by the Territory Entrance. Chapter 1481, Gather by the Territory Entrance. ___. In an isolated asteroid area southwest of the Sea of Annihilation, lightning moved around like snakes. Those asteroids had burning electricity running through them as the electric arc was crawling on them. The lead grey clouds covered the entire area like an ugly grey cloth which interrupted the vision a lot. Inside an ash-grey, shield-shaped asteroid, Emperor Sea Shark and Shenren were sitting cross-legged in a spacious room. Their breathing was steady as they were cultivating. Jingle, jingle. The clear bells arose from a ring on Shenren's finger. He woke up from his cultivation, his eyes baffled. An electric beam from his finger entered the ring. In the next second, a message ran into his brain. The puzzled countenance was swept away from Shenren's face. He was shaken, and a magical light shot out of his eyes. Our brothers in the Sea of Annihilation have sent me a strange news. Emperor Sea Shark had to pause his cultivation, his face bitter when he asked, "Something's wrong? Are they all right?" Before we left, we had told them to not raise the dispute with anybody during this time, hadn't we? Dozens of years ago, Emperor Sea Shark had supported Shi Yang on the Sea of Annihilation's seabed. He had offended the 5 clans and attacked Neptune and Feral. Afterward, the 5 clans were enraged. Emperor Sea Shark knew that it would be a lot of troubles if he continued to stay in the Sea of Annihilation. Begrudgingly, he and Shenren left alone, coming to this dangerous area to cultivate ascetically in the hope of cultivating to the next minor realm, which would ease out the threat from the 5 clans. Emperor Sea Shark and Shenren were the clansmen of the Sea Clan. They were forced to leave the Sea of Annihilation and cultivate here. To them, it wasn't easy to adapt to the environment. They didn't contact the members on the Sea of Annihilation's seabed because they were afraid of disclosing their whereabouts. They had strictly asked their subordinates to not contact them unless there was something they couldn't handle. When Shenren received the news, Emperor Sea Shark instinctively thought that his fellows in the Sea of Annihilation hadn't listened to him and caused some trouble. Emperor Sea Shark was greatly disappointed. He was upset because his fellows didn't understand that they should hide during this course. He and Shenren weren't there, so they must be gingerly. They should have done everything with great caution. If the others don't provoke them, the children would listen well. Shenren's eyes carried sadness. He knew those members of the Sea Clan. After he and Emperor Sea Shark had left, they had to pass a lot of benefits. The forces that had a grudge against Emperor Sea Shark now got the secret support from the 5 clans. They began to attack the Sea Clan warriors. Currently, the Sea Clan warriors had to survive in helter-skelter. They had to move continually. If the seabed of the Sea of Annihilation weren't immense, their fellows couldn't have lived anymore. Shenren knew everything. The cause of everything was that he and Emperor Sea Shark had chosen Shi Yang's side at the critical moment. They had enraged the 5 clans, giving them a purple face in wrath. What happened? Emperor Sea Shark sighed. To be exact, it's our mistake. If we stayed in the seabed, who would dare to attack them? Anyway, I don't regret it. If our benefactor hadn't trained me, we wouldn't have today's Emperor Sea Shark. I would have died already. We owed him. Right, we owed him, Shenren nodded. In the next second, his eyes brightened. My soldier sent the news saying that a guy came to them and told them the coordinates of an entrance territory. He asked you and me to go there and check. It's the territory entrance to desolate territory. Desolate territory's entrance. Emperor Sea Shark was shocked. He pulled a stern face. How could it be? The 7 clans are trying their best to find Desolate Territory's entrance. No one got anything. Who's kind enough to tell us about the entrance to Desolate Territory? How could he find it? Because he's from Desolate Territory, Shun Ren smiled. He's Shi Yang. Emperor Sea Shark shook hard. Are you sure? It's him. He had summoned the Power Upanishad symbol tower in front of our fellows. He said that he meant no harm. He wanted us to go to Desolate Territory, as he wanted to talk to us about something, said Shun Ren. Emperor Sea Shark pondered for a few seconds, then nodded resolutely. We're going back to the Sea of Annihilation. Deep under the Sea of Annihilation was a mysterious, fatal area. This area had terrifying water pressure, and the seawater had a strange greenish-grey hue. Hundreds of whirlpools appeared in this area like strange, open mouths, where was hidden a passage to the unknown outer space. Many warriors of the Sea of Annihilation knew this area. Some superb experts had come here to explore, going into those whirlpools. However, all of them disappeared. During tens of thousands of years, some territory ancestor realm experts had gone into those whirlpools as well. But none of them had returned to the sea domain of nihility. Some had entered a true void. They had to return with nothing but their damaged cultivation. Hundreds of whirlpools looked like strange flowers blooming in this area. Since many people had gone missing here, this area became a forbidden place. No one had found any trace of treasures here. After a long time, no one had come here to explore anymore, making the place desolate and barren. Today, a skull slowly headed toward the strange whirlpools. At first, it was tiny. As it zoomed over, the skull became massive. Swoosh! The skull stopped eventually. Surprisingly, it was the Skull Island of the Whitebone clan. After the Skull Island had anchored, some members of the Whitebone clan crawled out of the empty sockets. Hero was the leader, accompanied by Gay, another territory ancestor of the Whitebone clan. Around 10 more experts followed them on this trip. Inside the skull lay the coffins of the little skeleton's parents. Hero and Gay looked at so many whirlpools, their countenances surprised. Turns out it's here. No wonder why we couldn't find it. Although we know one of these vortexes is the entrance, we don't know which one it is. So, how can we dare to jump in? Asked Gay. An immortal realm expert of our Whitebone clan used to come here to explore. But he never came back, said Hero. Should we jump in now? The little skeleton asked, his eyes longing. Shi Yang's at the second sky of immortal realm. He has the life absolute beginning original symbol, so he can wake up my parents, right? It depends on the supernatural ability the life absolute beginning original symbol had given him. But, if he has called us, he should be certain. Gay explained. Hearing him, the little skeleton was cheered up, gently nodding at him. We're a little early. We should wait for the Phantom Clan. Montesi told me to wait if we arrived earlier. She would be slower than us because the Phantom Clan's far from here, said Hero. Okay. The Whitebone clan then waited in silence. After a while, a massive crystal shuttle that was like a hidden submarine arrived. It was invisible along the way, so it had startled many members of the Whitebone clan when it suddenly appeared by their Skull Island. Hero calmed them down as they knew it was from the Phantom clan. The crystal shuttle stopped, and a little girl appeared. Following her was Mai Ji, the expert with a peerless glamour. Around 10 beautiful people of the Phantom clan walked behind them. They were all wearing beautiful clothes, which outlined their gorgeous appearance and outstanding makings. All of them stood respectfully behind the little girl. Montesi, you're faster than I thought. Hero let his team leave the Skull Island and move the coffins together. Then, he rose one hand, grabbing the void. The Skull Island shrank and became a small white dot, which he put into his glabella. The Phantom clan group walked out of the shuttle. The little girl chuckled and opened her mouth as if she was eating fruits. She swallowed the massive crystal shuttle and then said, "We were a little hurried. We accelerated, as we were afraid of getting exposed. It's not good to linger here. As we don't want to be exposed, shall we get in there?" asked Hero. Montesi's childish face was stern. What if he gave us wrong coordinates, which is actually a death trap? Aren't you afraid? Ah, You Whitebone clan don't understand dark plans. If Shi Yang wants to harm you, you will enter his trap eventually. Without waiting for Hero's reply, Montesi signaled a man behind, ordering him, "You get in there and scout." She rose her hand, pointing at a whirlpool in the center. The handsome phantom man didn't say anything, heading toward the whirlpool. Montesi and Hero quieted down, waiting for the result. After a while, Montesi and Hero shouted at the same time, "Who is that?" They looked in the same direction, their eyes cold. It looked like they would turn into savage beasts in the next moment to tear anyone who dared to come here into pieces. Two silhouettes appeared. Shenren had a stern face, but his soul shivered and he became gingerly. Emperor Sea Shark was at the territory ancestor realm too. He was calmer under the gaze and threat from Hero and Montesi. He bowed to them from a distance, greeting loudly. "Greetings, Precursor Montesi, Precursor Hero." Emperor Sea Shark. My G screamed in surprise. "Why are you here?" Emperor Sea Shark thought for a while and soon got the situation, so he didn't want to conceal. "Shi Yang sent me a message and asked me to come. Seems like I'm not the only one invited. That kid has remembered the old favors." "He remembers you. He's not bad." Hearing him, Montesi nodded. "If Shi Yang had asked you to come, we will include you. But, do you know what's awaiting us in desolate territory?" "What?" Emperor Sea Shark didn't really know the situation. 3 absolute beginning creatures. We don't know how strong they are. Plus, there is the territory ancestor realm expert of the Devouring clan. There are many uncertain factors. "Are you sure you're in?" Montesi asked with a frown. Emperor Sea Shark's mind was shaken, frightened because of her words. He only received the message from Shi Yang, asking him to come here. He didn't know how complicated Desolate Territory's situation was. It made him hesitant. "Think carefully," Montesi added. However, at this moment, the good-looking man who had jumped into the whirlpool as asked returned, nodding with a happy face. "It's true. It's the territory entrance. No problem. Let's go." Montesi smiled, waving her hand. She brought the members of the Phantom clan, plunging bravely into the vortex. Chapter 1482 Reach an Agreement. Chapter 1482 Reach an Agreement __. Hero and the members of the Whitebone clan also dove into the whirlpool, disappearing together with Montesi and Mai Ji. Shun Ren wore a heavy countenance, hesitating. If Montesi's correct, once we enter desolate territory, our lives will be threatened. The absolute beginning creatures aren't easy to deal with, especially with the true expert of the Devouring clan. Have you thought it over? Hovering in front of hundreds of vortexes, Emperor Sea Shark looked worried and pensive. After a while, he said resolutely, "Let's take risks for once." "All right." Shun Ren didn't sound hesitant anymore, and then they both plunged into the vortex. After a while, a few shadows appeared. Hero, Montesi, and the others appeared above the river Ming Hao and Xian he used to stop by in the space outside desolate territory. As soon as they came, they released the soul consciousness to search. Immediately, they found Shi Yang standing like a lance by the territory entrance. Shi Yang. Mai Ji couldn't help but scream, her beautiful face looked happy. If Montesi and Hero weren't here, she would have jumped into his embrace. Time had flown like a long river. Dozens of years had passed as quickly as the blink of an eye. Mai Ji had become sexier. She was like a flower blooming to its very finest. Her bright eyes looked like they contained water, along with a passion that could melt even the hardest hearts in men. Her red robe worshipped her voluptuous, perfect contours. The red hue of her lips could arouse any man and boil his blood. "You finally entered the territory ancestor realm," Shi Yang beamed at her, then nodded to greet Montesi and Hero. His eyes brightened when he saw the little skeleton, asking smilingly, "Oh, you're here too. Shi Yang, can you save my parents?" The members of the Whitebone clan carried 2 coffins, standing behind the little skeleton. His dormant parents were inside the coffins. "If I have enough energy, I think it'll be no problem. Don't worry. As long as I am involved in a bloody battle that provides me with energy, I can wake them up," Shi Yang confirmed. The absolute beginning original symbol I got from the Power Upanishad symbol tower is a magical, supernatural ability of Life Power Upanishads. It is specialized for your parents' case. The two territory ancestors of the Whitebone clan were Hero and Gay, who had their eyes brightened at this moment. With what Shi Yang had just told them, this trip was already valuable. Do you know that all the experts in the Sea of Annihilation are searching for you and the entrance to Desolate Territory? Although Montesi looked as though she was just 11 or 12 years old, her eyes were deep and archaic. After you took a walk around the Sea of Annihilation, you've boiled up the entire place. You kid, you dare to play hard. I don't dare, Shi Yang looked sour. I almost died, but I was lucky. As long as I'm alive, I always have hope. Good mentality. Montesi smiled in surprise. We should talk about the conditions first. Shi Yang didn't babble more. He pulled himself together, looking at Hero and Gay. I can wake them up, and I also have the Power Upanishad symbol tower. I can promise you that if you get the materials to refine the absolute beginning original symbol, I will help you refine one. Hero and Gay exchanged looks and then nodded happily. They were waiting for him to explain his conditions. The same way, I can also refine the absolute beginning original symbol for the Phantom Clan. In Desolate Territory, I'm sort of a host. I can tell you the details and a preliminary plan. Shi Yang turned to Montesi while speaking. My conditions are simple. The two absolute beginning creatures, Hui and Devour, haven't recovered from their serious damage yet. We will join hands and attack them. We need to discuss the results. I hope you won't destroy the structure of Desolate Territory. Don't think that Desolate Territory's your backyard and invade it. I want you to keep everything here in its normal conditions. You want us to destroy or shoo things that don't belong to Desolate Territory out of the place. Is that what you want? Montesi intervened. You can say that. Shi Yang didn't conceal anything. I'm from Desolate Territory, and my family and friends live here. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. How about Desolate? Hero asked in a low-pitched voice. He's the owner of Desolate Territory, and his parts are separated. What should we do? Desolate, let me handle him. It's one of the conditions, Shi Yang said resolutely. What do you think? Montesi rubbed her chin, asking Hero. There are two absolute beginning creatures. It's easy to share between the two clans, isn't it? I know the Whitebone clan has something with Devour, so I guess you guys are interested in Devour, right? Devour's damaged badly. Gay and I can try to kill and then refine him. I just hope that the territory ancestor of the devouring clan here isn't Edgar. If Edgar's here, it'll be more troublesome, Hero said. So, is Edgar really powerful? Shi Yang was surprised. He had been in the Sea of Annihilation for a while, so he knew that Edgar was the strongest expert of the devouring clan, one of their 10 great territory ancestors. Together with Montesi and Hero, he was famous for his boldness. However, as Shi Yang had heard that the devouring clan didn't have complete power Upanishads, he assumed that Edgar wasn't really fierce because he didn't cultivate the devouring power Upanishad. Yeah, he's really powerful. The eyes on Hero's jade-like face were sparkling like gemstones. I used to fight against him. I'm not sure I can defeat him, as we are almost at the same level. If he comes, it'll be really tough to deal with. How about you and I joining hands? Montesi asked. It's no problem then, replied Hero. Do you agree with my conditions? If yes, we can do the prep work now. If not, then never mind, Shi Yang urged. Certainly yes. Sure thing. We should talk somewhere else. Shi Yang used his space power Upanishad to tear space here and connect to the Grace mainland. Everybody then wormed through the space slit like a shuttle, coming directly to the Immortal Island on the Grace mainland. As soon as they came to the Immortal Island, Hero and Montesi were amazed. Thick heaven and earth energy. This continent's really rare. It's amazing to cultivate power Upanishads here, worth a clone of Desolate. Montesi appraised. On the Immortal Island, DeCarlos, Xia Xinyang, Frederick, Audrey, and Blood Devil were waiting for him restlessly. Seeing Shi Yang returning with a group of people, everybody was shaken hard. What's the current situation? Is Ming Hao still alive? Shi Yang asked as soon as he returned. Ming Hao cultivated soul control power Upanishad, and had thousands of souls. The warriors cultivating this soul control power Upanishad, among the 8 great evil power Upanishads, were really hard to kill. Moreover, Ming Hao had the dark energy. Shi Yang didn't think he would be killed so soon. Can't contact him. Even if Ming Hao isn't killed yet, he's subdued for sure, and will be refined to death. He has a lot of souls. If one of them escapes, he can recover his power one more time. I'm just afraid that he had gathered all of his souls, so none of them can escape now. Xianhe frowned, his face heavy. Who are they? Adele looked at Hero and Montesi. She slightly paled as she was fearful instinctively. It was an invisible threat coming from the soul. Standing by Hero and Montesi, the low-realm warriors under the incipient god realm couldn't feel anything. But Adele, De Carlos, and Frederick had entered the immortal realm, and their sensitivity was improved. They could vaguely feel an extremely terrifying aura form them. The energy fluctuated from the experts made their souls restless, their soul altars shivering. They are friends from the sea domain of nihility, Shi Yang explained as he understood their astonishment. They're going with us to attack the 2-star areas. I have to borrow the external forces cause we're too weak. Hearing him, Xianhe, Frederick, and the others looked upset. In desolate territory, they were the unrivaled existences. Until now, Xianhe, Frederick, and their followers had made killing God Lord Brian and destroying the God clan their life's goal. However, things changed drastically. The God Lord was betrayed by his own kind, the 4 heavenly kings were chasing after him. Brian, their archenemy, was now in their shoes. They understood his situation, anyway. The ones who weren't appreciated now showed their fangs and their brutal facets. They had controlled the situation entirely. The arrogant and proud experts like them couldn't accept this. It had stirred them up, making them thirsty for more power and higher realms. Let them rest in the Grace mainland. We're going to the ancient Demon Star area to find Pu Tai first. Shi Yang suggested. He was talking about 2 coffins of the Whitebone clan. He thought they were the burden they shouldn't keep on their side all the time. Unfortunately, Hero and Gay insisted that they had to carry the 2 coffins all the time. They didn't believe that the people on the Grace mainland could take care of the coffins well. They believed in only themselves. Let's go. We're heading to that ancient demon something, Montesi screamed. Reaching an agreement with the Phantom clan and the Whitebone clan, Shi Yang led them together with Xianhe, Frederick, De Carlos, and Adele from the Grace mainland, heading toward the ancient Demon Star area. After many star areas had merged together, the dark abyss overshadowed the ancient demon continent like a thick, black sea which generated an endless evilness. In a dark area where people couldn't even see their own fingers arose a tired voice, "You're astonishingly talented as you can cultivate the soul control power Upanishad and synchronize it skillfully with your space power Upanishad. Even in my clan, no one could reach your achievement in soul control power Upanishad. Too bad you've not reached the territory ancestor realm yet. I will ask you, on behalf of our ancestor, do you want to follow our ancestor? We will distort your seal, making you a loyal servant of our devouring clan." "I don't." Ming Hao's feeble voice arose in the darkness. It seemed his soul was about to scatter. Useless persistence. It's really bad for your achievement and loyalty. I have to destroy you then. If you want to kill me utterly, you will have to pay a big price. I have no choice. Your threat is really significant. When you enter the territory ancestor realm, I won't have a chance to kill you. I have to do it early. Come as you wish. Chapter 1483, Predestined Enemy. Chapter 1483, Predestined Enemy. Layers of thick membranes that looked like glass or jade stopped them. Starlight sparkled and crawled on those membranes with thick and surging heaven and earth energy. It was the territory wall, the barrier and membrane that separated the star areas. When many smaller star areas had merged together to create the Grace mainland star area, those layers were created by the star area walls of the small star areas. Layers of dozens of star areas had overlapped to form a thick and tough wall. Gay from the Whitebone clan was at the first sky of territory ancestor realm. He cultivated fire power Upanishad, his eyes seeming like dazzling suns. "Let me open this star area wall." Gay volunteered. As soon as he finished, billions of flames emerged from his chest, creating waves of burning artilleries. Boom! Flames rolled, emitting a burning heat that shocked Blood Devil and the others. They felt a twinge in their ears, so they had to conjure light cages to protect themselves. DeCarlos' visage changed. From those artilleries, he could feel the toughness that could destroy the heaven and earth. He believed that if the artilleries hit the small spaces inside his body, they could destroy hundreds of them. If this flaming attack bombarded the Thunder Firmament star area, it could shatter it entirely. "Who allowed you to do that?" Shi Yang bellowed. "The star area wall is too thick. If I don't do that, we can't break it." "Oh!" Gay suddenly screamed in fright. How could it be?" At this moment, the artilleries in his chest were connected to the star area barrier by a flaming dragon. The dragon was several thousand meters long, as big as a mountain. It continually licked the barrier with the burning tongues. Waves of invisible energy came from the crystal, jade-like membranes. It seemed eternal, as if it was the will of God. Boom! 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 The fire dragon exploded abruptly, sparks sent everywhere. The members of the Phantom clan and the Whitebone clan had to back off to avoid those terrifying sparks. Gay was frightened. It's unbelievable that the star barrier has a powerful counterattacking energy. Where can this energy possibly come from? "Oh, when I moved through the barrier, I didn't encounter any attack." DeCarlos was puzzled. He came to the barrier, using his space power Upanishad to open a passage. He did that at ease. Hero and Montesi exchanged looks. They saw the heavy and serious countenances on each other's face. Montesi observed the surroundings and said, "The barrier Desolate has put up can prevent the outsiders, or the warriors from the other territories. But the warriors with its aura in the soul won't be affected. Yeah, take you guys for example. You were born in Desolate territory, so you have its aura. You won't fey the counterattack from the barrier. But we don't belong to this place. It will instinctively treat us as the enemy." Hero remarked. "No wonder why the devouring clan members aren't walking around the 3 big star areas. Seems it's because of the star area barrier." "Shen, he got it. We should take DeCarlos' passage," Shi Yang said. Right after that, they followed each other to move through the passage. Emperor Sea Shark and Shun Ren walked at the end of the line. They seemed to want to say something. They met Shi Yang after Hiron and Montesi, but he didn't talk to Emperor Sea Shark. It made Emperor Sea Shark suspicious. He wanted to find a chance to ask Shi Yang about his intentions as he had invited him to Desolate territory. Shi Yang lagged behind purposely. He watched the members of the Whitebone clan and Phantom clan enter the ancient Demon Star area with DeCarlos' help. After only he, Emperor Sea Shark, and Shun Ren were left, Shi Yang talked sincerely. "If you hadn't helped me in Sea of Annihilation, I would have been killed. No matter why you did that, I owe you this favor. I told you to come to Desolate territory without any harmful intentions. You're struggling to live in the sea domain of nihility, so I think you should go to Desolate territory and try your luck here. I will try my best to give you a great encounter." "What kind of encounter?" Emperor Sea Shark asked skeptically. "You will know when it arrives." Shi Yang smiled mysteriously. Emperor Sea Shark didn't ask further. He nodded and stepped into the ancient Demon Star area with Shun Ren. Inside a cluster of thick darkness arose the fierce sounds of soul collisions. It seemed countless ghosts and departed souls were fighting, tearing each other in there. Pu Tai and his warriors surrounded the ancient demon continent, observing coldly and waiting for a result. All of a sudden, starlight beams zoomed over from a very far distance. The starlight carried the earth-shaking aura and piercing energy. It was a formidable raid of shooting asteroids. Thousands of mountain-like, shining asteroids were shooting toward the ancient demon continent. Pu Tai changed his face and howled, his voice piercing through the blood sea. Hundreds of devouring clan members with dark green skin flew out of the darkness like the beasts. Most of them were at the incipient god realm, and several at the immortal realm. They all had emerald eyes, showing their savage and brutish nature. Receiving Pu Tai's order, they began to urge their power. Crimson rivers, erosive mist and smoke, destructive energy waves, icy cold corpse chi. A myriad of great, evil powers were conjured. Many incipient extents arose, and the immense snow world blasted and attacked those asteroids. Pu Tai wore a sinister face. Although his eyes were red, he couldn't hide his excitement. Shi Yang, you have come finally. Haha, I've asked Uncle Lebit to keep Ming Hao alive to entice you. Although you're late, you're finally here. Many warriors who used to depend on Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick, were surrounding Pu Tai today, making him their supreme leader. Inside the torrential asteroid flow, Shi Yang was standing on a massive rock, his eyes cold and crimson. He looked at Pu Tai, checked him and then talked. It's unexpected that you've reached the immortal realm, second sky, not bad. I'm amazed. Seems you've swallowed a lot of energy lately. Pu Tai also had bloodthirstis inheritance and devour's acceptance. He had mastered the devouring power Upanishad and the 8 great, evil powers. No one could assess the growth of devouring power Upanishad better than Shi Yang. Seeing Pu Tai enter the second sky of immortal realm, he knew that the other had killed many people to gather energy. Since it was Wedderson's body, his god power ancient tree was typical. Even though Pu Tai had a profound realm, he still needed to accumulate god power. And, god power, generated by the devouring power Upanishad, had the essence chi of the dead warriors as the main source. Shi Yang, you and I have lived together for a long time, I know everything about you. But you know nothing about me. So, you can't beat me. You don't have even a single chance. Pu Tai looked frantic, grinning happily. I'm going to kill you, then eat your soul and body. I will definitely advance further. Everything you got within your life of hundreds of years will help me achieve my goal. You're the biggest boost for me to become a territory ancestor. I have been waiting for you for a long time. He had considered Shi Yang a predestined enemy since he found out that Shi Yang had received bloodthirstis inheritance, and the real ring spirit considered him as master. He had crossed his heart that he would take back everything. He had made so many plans. But Ming Hao got him at the critical moment. Ming Hao had sealed him, and he had almost vanished. He had made up his mind that he wanted Shi Yang and Ming Hao to wither in order to nurture his soul and accumulate energy to reach the territory ancestor realm. Rumble. 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 The formidable, destructive energy came from Pu Tai's body as bloodthirstis aura rose and rocketed massively. The spiral energy expanded from him. As soon as it touched the asteroids, all of them exploded into dust. Pu Tai's eyes were garnet as he used rampage. The negative moods multiplied crazily, wisps of white smoke fuming out of his pores. It's the battle between Shi Yang and me. Right from the start, he and I shouldn't exist at the same time. Pu Tai turned to his subordinates, talking indifferently, only one of us can live. Once one is swallowed, he will complete the other. I am the young chief of the devouring clan, chosen by the ancestor. Shi Yang's chosen by bloodthirsty. It's a predestined battle. This was the unfinished battle between absolute beginning creature devour and bloodthirsty. Pu Tai had expressed that no other warrior could join this battle. He must finish the battle between bloodthirsty and devour that year. It was one of the plans devour had prepared. It's true that they should finish the battle themselves. Master had made a rule that we only have one master, who has to be born from blood. Unfortunately, he didn't estimate that devour would interfere with his plans. But, under the given circumstances where Shi Yang and Pu Tai have the same realm, we can just let them do that, Xian He said with an odd face when he heard the voice echoing around the sea of stars while hiding in an invisible asteroid. Frederick closed his eyes to sense for a while and then said, Pu Tai's formidable. Strictly talking, he has inherited everything of Master, not only the devouring power Upanishad, but also the other 8 evil powers. At this moment, Pu Tai's competence is matched with our master from that year. He turned to look at Shi Yang. Shi Yang got the devouring power Upanishad and the death power Upanishad, but he hasn't cultivated the rest. Moreover, Wedderson's body, which Pu Tai has possessed, is created by our master's bones. He's more like our master, and our master was invincible at that time. Are you sure we shouldn't interfere with their battle? Hero, Montesi, and Gay heard the conversation between Xian He and Frederick, then asked for more details. Hero and Montesi were surprised, but they looked more interested. Montesi said, "They're both at the second sky of Immortal Realm, and they represent Bloodthirsty and Devour. It's gonna be awesome. I'm eager to see the result." With the powers of Devouring Power Upanishad, if Pu Tai kills Shi Yang, he will get everything Shi Yang has. Xian He pondered and then said, "In the same manner, if Shi Yang kills Pu Tai and refines him, he will get everything Pu Tai has." Pausing for a while, Xian He hissed, "Including the other power Upanishad." Chapter 1484, The Battle That Lasts 10,000 Years. Chapter 1484, The Battle That Lasts 10,000 Years, ___. Pu Tai, turns out his Pu Tai. Montesi looked at the dark area above the ancient demon continent. Pu Tai wore a ferocious face, his eyes blood-red. A bloodthirsty aura emitted from his body, creating the infinite blood sea of the netherworld. Even though they were too far away, she could still perceive his aura. Hero from the Whitebone clan pulled a stern face. "Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know Pu Tai?" Xian He was surprised. Pu Tai's the young chief of the Devouring clan. He used to be an extremely outstanding warrior among the juniors in the sea domain of Nihility. People expected him to break through to the territory ancestor realm within 10,000 years. When Pu Tai debuted, his fame was immeasurable. Yerberg, Ling Mai, and even Mai Ji weren't as talented as him. Montesi threw a glance toward Mai Ji. Mai Ji nodded, her charming face worried. Pu Tai used to be very prominent. But hundreds of years ago, the Devouring clan announced that he had fallen into bedevilment while cultivating. He was gone. At that time, Pu Tai was at the third sky of Immortal Realm, which was one realm higher than me. Many clans felt happy over the other's calamity. I did feel relief as well. Turns out he wasn't dead because of bedevilment. They had sent him to desolate territory in order to stay low-key. No wonder why the Devouring clan didn't look gloomy or mourned over his death. When I got the news, I vaguely thought that Pu Tai was still alive. Since he hadn't shown up in the sea domain of Nihility for hundreds of years, we slowly believed it was a true story. Mai Ji told them about Pu Tai's profile. Pu Tai came here with his soul. His soul had reached the third sky of Immortal Realm, but he had to cultivate again with the new body. Although he looked like he is only at the second sky of Immortal Realm, he can use the power of a third sky of Immortal Realm expert. She reminded Xian He and Frederick about Pu Tai's intimidation in the past, telling them that he was stronger than what they thought. No wonder why Pu Tai could kill my brother and swallow the two ring spirits. Xian Shan and the ring spirit couldn't resist a soul at the third sky of Immortal Realm. Xian He remembered the sad stories, feeling dejected. Yeah, Pu Tai isn't ordinary. But Shi Yang isn't any worse. You're confused because you are concerned. Montesi beamed, tiptoeing to pat Mai Ji's shoulder, which made her look funny. Silly little girl, Shi Yang has the Devouring Power Upanishad and the Power Upanishad symbol tower. Even I can't see through him. He's not ordinary either. You're too worried. They're going to have a fair and equal match. Xian He, Frederick, and Adele saw her move, not knowing whether to cry or smile. She was around 1.2 meters tall, a little cutie. On the other side, Mai Ji was a sexy grown-up. When she patted Mai Ji's shoulder to calm her, it looked really awkward. Yeah, you're right, Granny. I'm just too nervous. Mai Ji pulled herself together, smiling embarrassedly. She slowly calmed herself down. Granny. Xian He and the others gawked as if their eyeballs were about to fall out. They eyed Montesi and felt that their cognition was distorted. Stay silent and watch the amazing game. Hero sounded excited. People then focused back on the fight. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. So many shadows came from different corners of this star area. Battleships, war chariots, and flying carriages gathered like black clouds. Pu Tai's roaring and howling thundered, reverberating around the star area. He secretly ordered his subordinate forces to come and prepare for the bloody war. At this moment, tens of thousands of forces that had submitted to the bloodthirsty force and worshipped Pu-Tai as their new master had arrived. Those people came from the forces under the Imperial Dark Tribe, the immortal demon nomads, and even the forces Ming Hao used to control in the dark. The experts of many forces were subdued during Pu-Tai's 100 years here. They worshipped the absolute beginning creature Devour and became Pu-Tai's loyal servants. Tens of thousands of massive battleships and war chariots shot fast. The bone-flying bird war chariots looked so real as they zoomed over from the big life stars. Millions of warriors stood on the giant battleships with super-powerful auras. They anchored around the ancient demon continent like clouds of locusts. They defended the ancient demon continent tightly, protecting Devour while it was eating the ancient demon continent. It was all because Devour was their master now. Xian He, Frederick, and Adele paled when they saw the familiar faces, their eyes sparkling with ruthlessness. They used to be their fellows, their loyal troopers. But now, they were the traitors. Looking at them, Xian He, Adele, and the others understood the God Lord's begrudging bitterness. The sour feeling on getting rejected was like the everlasting strong wine in their hearts that they couldn't accept. Well played. It has just been 100 years and you have gathered so many forces. In terms of ruling, you're better than me. Shi Yang hovered inside the rapid torrent of asteroids as he continually gathered energy. Just like Pu-Tai, he wasn't hurried to attack. Shi Yang watched him roar and howl, sending the call for war, as well as so many incoming battleships. If you dare to come here, I'm sure you're well prepared as well. Blood lingered in Pu-Tai's eyes. His line of sight zoomed across the immense space to where Xian He and Frederick were hiding. Although they're concealing the aura, I can feel them. Apparently, it's not that you didn't prepare anything. Master. 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 The warriors at Profound Realms on the majestic battleships around the ancient demon continent bowed toward Pu-Tai respectfully, humbly waiting for his order. Pu-Tai curled his lips, pointing at Shi Yang while laughing. His Shi Yang, bloodthirsty heir. His also the master Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick have acknowledged. Today, Ming Hao's confined. He will be killed at any second. Xian He and Frederick are around as well, probably. I ask you to come and see who is the real master. Snorting, Pu-Tai thundered, this battle was predestined right when I came to desolate territory. No one is allowed to interfere with this battle between us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The experts on the battleships included the elders of the immortal demon clan, the eccentric lords of the Imperial Dark Tribe, and the experts that used to follow Ming Hao. They all had a vague mark on their foreheads, which resembled a black hole. It was Devour's crest. Within 100 years while Shi Yang and the others were away, those people had been subjugated by Pu-Tai, becoming Devour's most loyal servants. Come fight me. Inside the asteroid current, Shi Yang's imposing aura rose. He laughed crazily as billions of starlight beams were shelling on those massive asteroids. The rocks become sparkling and transparent, with electric beams moving around. Their energy surged and emitted as if they wouldn't drain even after 1 billion years. Get out here. Pu-Tai's eyes were crimson, his face frantic. He rose his hands toward the dark abyss. It seemed like he had a hand in the void that could pull the whole sky down. Rumble. 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 The earth-destroying explosions arose from the dark abyss. A massive blood sea emerged from the darkness. Follow the blood sea were the islands, each of which had terrifying energy fluctuations. Those energies belonged to the 8 great, evil power Upanishads, including soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi. The islands of the great 8 inheritances in the blood sea forbidden land. Xian He screamed ear-piercingly. Frederick also discolored in fright. Indeed, he has fused with the ring spirit and obtained the entire blood sea in his hands. Turns out the 8 islands can work magically like this. The Soul Control Island, the Death Island, the Corrosion Island, the Dark Island, the Chaos Island, the Destruction Island, the the Despair Island, and the Corpse Chi Island were drawn from the darkness, hovering above Pu Tai's head. Everybody looked and found an endless sea of blood bobbing above his head. The 8 islands formed a circle in the blood sea. Boom! Another island flew out of the blood sea. It was ink black, spinning like the massive mouth of a demon that could swallow the entire world. It was the Devouring Island. The Devouring Island flew out the last, landing in the center of the circle created by the 8 islands, implanting on Pu Tai's crown of the head. Swoosh! Swoosh! The negative auras were so thick, and the brutal, bloodthirsty energy was endless like a rapid river that had run for billions of years and would never stop. All burst out of Pu Tai's body, entering the Devouring Island on his head. Almost at the same time, the 8 islands of the 8 inheritances had shot out 8 dazzling, magical rivers, connecting to the Devouring Island. They seemed to become a single entity, which was the way to perfectly combine the Devouring Power Upanishad and the other 8 Power Upanishads. They looked like an ancient formation from the absolute beginning era, which could trigger the evilest power in this world. Pu Tai's aura rose continually, and the red hue in his eyes became thicker. The blood membrane appeared on his skin, making a set of natural armor. At this moment under the Blood Sea and the 9 islands, Pu Tai had shown the power that had greatly surpassed Shi Yang's. If the latter didn't have anything to counter, this battle couldn't last even a moment. Pu Tai would hit him hard and kill him shortly. Inside the turbulent asteroid current, the surging energy from the asteroids was like a firefly compared to the moon that was Pu Tai's energy. They weren't at the same level anyway. Pu Tai's formidable, really formidable. Gay from the Whitebone clan closed his eyes to sense for a while, talking heavily, although his at the second sky or immortal realm, that tremendous energy, I'm afraid even a third sky of immortal realm experts can't manage that. It's lucky that both Shi Yang and Pu Tai haven't reached the territory ancestor realm yet. Otherwise, their battle would shatter this star area entirely. Montesi and Hero also looked solemn. They were startled when they saw Pu Tai's power. They were regretful for ignoring the battle earlier on. Pu Tai was much more powerful than they had estimated. After hundreds of years, Pu Tai had progressed much faster than they had imagined. Sigma_Sigma_Happy New Year Smiley. https://patreon.com Sigma_Sama. https://PayPal. Me Sigma Sama. https://Streamlabs.com Sigma_7. Chapter 1485, You're Not Qualified. Chapter 1485, You're Not Qualified. Pu Tai sneered, turning to face the current of asteroids Shi Yang had stopped. The brilliant, diamond-like asteroids suddenly emitted a bright, silver-colored light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Inside thousands of massive asteroids, furious light rays created by Space Power Upanishad were shot out everywhere. Numerous twinkling starlight dots mingled with the silver light. Altogether, they created a downpour like a shattering galaxy from the 9 tiers of the sky. Everybody had a terrible feeling as if the world was about to shatter, and the void about to corrupt. The power of those asteroids was so formidable, as it was the combination of Star Power Upanishad and Space Power Upanishad. Pu Tai was attacked by billions of bright silver rays. His face changed immediately. Can't believe he has merged the Star and Space Power Upanishads. Worthy of the heir he had chosen. Too bad, you're too weak. As everybody looked at them, Pu Tai suddenly split into 2 persons, then 4, and finally 8. In just a second, there were 8 Pu Tais. The life magnetic field, God power, and soul aura of the 8 Pu Tais were the same. They jumped, scattering into the 8 islands. Instantaneously, the 8 islands of the 8 evil power Upanishads turned into Whitebone islands with an endless evilness. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The blood sea generated a blood-red light which seeped into the 8 islands. Pu Tai's bodies enlarged like evil demons and the entire world echoed his arrogant voice. You have the Star and Space Power Upanishads, but I have all 8 power Upanishads fused into one. Even Bloodthirsty hadn't reached this level before. How can you defeat me? Pu Tai launched his 8-power Upanishad, including soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi at the same time. From the devouring island, his energy bombarded the current of asteroids. Numerous souls showed their sharp fangs while the thick death energy created a bloody hand seal. The corrosion power Upanishad melted everything. The dark power Upanishad cut off the soul consciousness. The chaos power Upanishad distorted space. The destruction power Upanishad destroyed everything. The despair power Upanishad made people hopeless and helpless. And the corpse chi power Upanishad covered them with a dark coldness. The 8 islands of the 8-power Upanishads spun like a crazy wheel inside the flow of asteroids, crushing all the rocks in their way. The bright silver space light column pierced through the 8 islands, but it caused no harm. The devouring island in the center of the 8 islands turned into a dark whirlpool, continually revolving like the massive mouth of a brutal ghost that was choosing a prey, waiting for the best chance to attack. Boom! 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 The asteroids exploded, turning into dust. Shiyang's sea of asteroids shrunk rapidly to the point of disappearing soon. Staying inside the sea of asteroids, his eyes were crimson as he watched the 8 islands controlled by Pu Tai crushing his asteroids. Pu Tai's might was beyond his imagination, and Shiyang had to try his best. The deep soul control power Upanishad allowed Pu Tai to divide his soul into 8, which went to the 8 islands to launch 8 power Upanishads at the same time. Shiyang had a terrible feeling that he was against the 8 great chiefs all alone. Crack, crack. Parts of a massive blood shield appeared and connected in front of him, with fine, wiggling blood drawings. At this moment, the blood shield was transforming into a blood cloud. A bloody light shot out of the shield, and the blood-dripping sword emerged. The bloody sword and shield were Bloodthirsty's weapons. Before Bloodthirsty had reached the territory ancestor realm, they were his 2 fierce and useful weapons. Shiyang inherited the blood sword and the blood shield. He had gradually discovered the power of the weapons that could cooperate with his power Upanishads to increase the lethality of the weapons. The blood clouds drifted toward Pu Tai and the evil eyes on the blood sword opened. A band of bloody light shot out of the clouds, slashing on one of the 8 Pu Tais. Ha ha ha. Pu Tai laughed crazily. He opened his arms as if he wanted to pull the whole world into his embrace. Unexpectedly, his body then swallowed the bloodlight and the blood shield. The blood vein ring on his finger sparkled as if it was calling something. The blood clouds and the blood sword shook hard in the void as if they were tied to some invisible ropes. They didn't listen to Shiyang, flying toward Pu Tai. Just like that, the sword and the shield disappeared into Pu Tai's body. Right after that, 8 Pu Tais had fierce armor lingering on their bodies. The armor fitted perfectly on him, making his power double. At this moment, Pu Tai was too intimidating in Xian His and Frederick's eyes. Looking at him, they thought that they were seeing Bloodthirsty. It was like Bloodthirsty was using Pu Tai's bodies to come to this world one more time. The high-pitched, ear-piercing noises like broken strings boomed in Shiyang's brain, aching his nerves. He had totally lost the connection with the bloody sword and shield. The 2 powerful weapons of Bloodthirsty he had controlled were snatched from him, becoming parts of Pu Tai. Mwahaha, I'm the one who told you about the power of the blood shield and the blood sword. Do you think I didn't do anything to them? Pu Tai laughed contentedly. I got 3 parts of the blood vein ring's ring spirit. I know things better than you. Do you know why I wanted Wedderson's body? Because Wedderson's body and Bloodthirsty's body aren't much different in nature. You've killed him and implanted Bloodthirsty's remains in his body. It's similar to recovering Bloodthirsty's body. My body now is similar to Bloodthirsty. How can you defeat me when you use Bloodthirsty's weapon? Although they've left him for 10,000 years, they still remember his aura. I, the one with the blood vein ring, have all of its secrets. Isn't it too simple? Pu Tai mocked Shiyang for his stupidity. Then, the blood sword appeared in one of the 8 Pu Tai's hand. It was the Pu Tai on the Death Island. The blood sword in his hand hacked, and a band of bloodlight seeming like the 10,000 meters long river of death rolled toward the asteroid current. Hundreds of massive asteroids exploded, The star and space energies combined couldn't resist this sharp attack. This blood sword and shield aren't the absolute beginning divine weapons. However, Bloodthirsty had quenched them for years. For warriors with the 8 evil power Upanishads, it can increase their power incredibly. It's bad that I didn't tell you this. You will never be able to use their true powers. Pu Tai swung the blood sword. The blood bands of light were as sharp as space sabers, cutting many asteroids into pieces. At this moment, Pu Tai had the upper hand as he continually destroyed the sea of asteroids, consuming Shi Yang's power. After dozens of seconds, the sea of asteroids Shi Yang had gathered now had only one left. Shi Yang sat on that asteroid, his face cold as he saw his asteroids turning into an area of grey mist and smoke. His eyes were extremely and unprecedentedly stern as he said in a low-pitched voice, "You're bold. Looking at you, I can imagine how formidable Bloodthirsty was in that year. No wonder why Bloodthirsty was invincible in desolate territory. Really fierce. It's good that you understand," Pu Tai laughed. "Don't say that I'm hunting you down. I'm going to give you a chance to live. As long as you give me your life seal and the second soul that has fused with Desolate, I won't swallow you all. As long as you worship me as your master and become our devouring clan's servant, I can assure you're not going to be obliterated." Pu Tai looked at the members of different races around him. "Look at them. They are our servants, but they live very well. They will have a bright future too. Desolate territory will be one of our devouring clan's territories. They will be our vassals. It's not something shameful to stay in the shade of the biggest clan in this world. Think about it." Listening to Pu Tai's arrogant voice, the faces of the experts from other territories like Hero and Montesi were grimaced. Montesi sneered, her eyes so cold. This arrogant rascal is exaggerating even more than his old man. Seems like once the devouring clan conquers desolate territory, they will ignite the great racial war in sea domain of nihility. The devouring clan has aimed at the entire sea domain of nihility. Desolate territory is just a step to accumulate energy. Hero from the Whitebone clan nodded, his face malicious. Pu Tai's too formidable. His overwhelming Shi Yang. I think Shi Yang can hardly resist him. Emperor Sea Shark frowned. He didn't know Shi Yang, so he only guessed from the given circumstances. He thought that Shi Yang wasn't Pu Tai's worthy opponent. Pu Tai got the right time, the right place, and the right support. While he was impersonating the ring spirit, he had lived with Shi Yang for many years. He had witnessed all the battles Shi Yang had joined and become stronger. He knew about the latter's hidden powers and means. Know yourself, know your enemy, and you will win every battle. Pu Tai had been patient and subtle for many years. He understood Shi Yang clearly, but Shi Yang barely knew him. Right at the beginning of this battle, Pu Tai had more chances to win. Montesi and Hero had a stern face even though they had assumed that Shi Yang could resist Pu Tai. But now their hopes were fading with each passing moment. "Serve you as my master?" Shi Yang sat cross-legged on his last asteroid while smirking. "You're not qualified." "Ha ha ha." Pu Tai laughed crazily while shaking his head. His 8 clones controlled the 8 islands, forming an octagonal formation and pressing on. A terrifying intimidation that came from the very dawn of the world and could bury the space came from the 8 islands. Such a formidable pressing force had discolored even the experts at Heroes and Montesi's levels. The devouring island in the center turned into a soul vortex, like a massive mouth facing Shi Yang. With that, an enormous soul-sucking force was generated. Shi Yang's soul altar, under the effect of the sucking force, slowly arose from his body. He couldn't move to stop the other from taking his soul altar out of his body. The islands of the 8 great power Upanishads have opened the profound, forbidden technique. Let alone you. Even the real territory ancestor can't move in this situation. Wait for me to swallow and refine you. Be obedient. Haha, I've yearned for the space, star, and life power Upanishads for years. They should become parts of my power Upanishads. Pu Tai screamed excitedly. Chapter 1486, Strength of the Territory Master. Chapter 1486, Strength of the territory master. ___. The 8 islands of the 8 evil power Upanishads pressed on Shiyang like 8 holy mountains. The devouring power Upanishad in the center still released the terrifying soul-sucking force that could devour thousands of souls. Shiyang's soul altar was slowly lifted off his body, emerging outside. Shiyang's 2 souls appeared. The host soul and the co-soul were like twin stars, flying out first. Following them was a bright galaxy with so many stars moving in mysterious trajectories. It was his incipient extent. Under his incipient extent was the tier of power Upanishads. The black hole was the devouring power Upanishad, while the brilliant nebula was the star power Upanishad. The crystal globe contained a sparkling symbol was the life power Upanishad and the life original symbol. Shiyang also had a strange mirror, which had reflected so many different spaces. It was the space power Upanishad. Next to it was an icy grey layer, which represented the death power Upanishad. So many flames separated from the section of power Upanishad under the co-soul, they were the heaven flames. The sea of consciousness slowly extended. Inside the sea of consciousness was a small soul pond. The soul pond stored the pure dark energy, the true soul energy. However, it occupied a tiny part of the sea of consciousness. Shiyang's soul altar was drawn out of his body, and was exposed slowly. Looking at the bright galaxy, the onlookers in the ancient demon star area were shocked. They smacked their tongues in surprise. His incipient extent had nothing at the beginning, but now, it looked really similar to the sea of stars in any territory. Seemed like it could become a suitable world for creatures to live in. Even the territory ancestors with a territory like Hero and Montesi were so thrilled that their hearts beat frantically when they saw that immense galaxy territory. They exchanged looks and saw the disbelieving looks in each other's eyes. Shiyang's soul altar was sucked and exposed. His body was controlled, and he couldn't move. Seeing that the result of the battle was determined, Pu Tai was more excited. 8 clones of his gathered, his real body reappearing. The 8 islands, the 8 holy mountains, continued to emit the surging evil power, subduing Shiyang. Pu Tai's real body came next to the black hole. He came personally to circulate the energy, focusing on taking Shiyang's power Upanishads in his soul altar. In this world, it seemed like no force could stop him from swallowing Shiyang's soul altar. Shiyang had lived in this world for hundreds of years. He was equipped efficiently to pioneer. He had used blood to wash himself and reach the second sky of immortal realm. With the power Upanishads he had, many people thought that he was Bloodthirster's successor, the one who could turn a new page in the bloodthirsty force's history. No one had ever thought that he would die that way, being killed by his most favorite devouring power Upanishad. The soul hiding in his ring was about to melt him down. Inside the immense ancient demon star area, an evil energy filled the entire sky. That evil energy arrived at each corner of the star area, coming from Pu Tai. To be precise, it came from his devouring black hole. Shiyang's soul altar approached the black hole. Both of his souls were about to be sucked in. Maiji shivered. She couldn't stand it anymore, and wanted to take action. He has a chance. Montesi hissed all of a sudden. Everybody looked shocked. So many eyes were gazing at one thing. It was the heaven flames in Shiyang's soul altar. Those flames used to be scattered. However, at this moment before Shiyang's twin souls entered the black hole, billions of flames with different auras had become one, turning into a mass of flame as big as an ox head. The burning flame released a pure soul energy. It was the purest dark energy. Shiyang's co-soul suddenly immersed in it, sinking into that cluster of flame. Shiyang's body was so stagnant that he couldn't even move. However, in just a blink of an eye, he got rid of the constraints. The life ball of life power Upanishad and the river of the star power Upanishad changed their locations, moving underneath Shiyang's co-soul. Under everybody's gaze, Shiyang's co-soul and the flame merged into one. The surging dark energy emitted from Shiyang's co-soul had suddenly triggered the star and life power Upanishad. Thud, thump, thud, thump. So many thick and low sounds pounded people's hearts like drumbeats. Everybody was startled, trying to find the source of the noise. This kind of noise was like the sound of the soul that could run directly into their souls, which their ears couldn't hear. That was why they couldn't find its source. It's the nucleus of the stars. They are shaking. Hero was frightened. It was the first time he had screamed. The nuclei in all the stars, solar stars, lunar stars, and life stars of the ancient demon star area are stimulated. They seem about to receive life and cognition shortly. Xian He, Frederick, and the others were baffled. They knew it was so strange, but they didn't know what would happen when the star's nuclei vibrated. They all looked at Hero, waiting. This ancient demon star area belongs to desolate territory. Everything in this area, from a speck of dust to an entire planet, was created by desolate. Hero looked at those who were so baffled, talking with a bitter smile. This place is desolate's territory. Every matter here was created by desolate. I still don't get it, Xian He screamed. Shi Yang's fused with the Grace mainland. His co-soul and the origin of the Grace mainland are one body. Now, all the heaven flames have become the soul flame. The origin is actually made of dark energy. It's desolate's wisdom, it's desolate itself. Montesi suddenly got it as she turned to look at Shi Yang, talking in fright. Shi Yang got one of desolate's clones, and is one of the masters of desolate territory. He can control everything in desolate territory. It's his world, he can control everything. Xian He, Frederick, and the others were panic-stricken as they finally understood. It was like the incipient extent they had. In that incipient extent, they were the sole god, the principal. This was inside desolate's territory. In this place, Shi Yang was one of the true gods, the principal and the great path of power Upanishad. What kind of power could bind him, the master of this territory, in his own territory? Thus, the seal created by the holy mountains of the 8 evil powers had been lifted shortly. Shi Yang regained his mobility, he wasn't bound anymore. At the same time, all the warriors in the ancient demon star area screamed in fear, their faces pale. They saw a spectacular scene they would never forget. The bright suns and moons of the ancient demon star area rolled and marched toward them together with the life stars they had dwelled and cultivated on. They were all the real stars, the foundation of the ancient demon star area, mothers of countless creatures. Many life stars had warriors and ordinary people living and working on them. People with keen eyes could see the desperate faces on them as they were watching the last day of this world, the apocalypse. Thousands of massive suns and moons rolled torrentially like a rapid flood current. Billions of lives on so many life stars were shaken as the nuclei inside their planets had affected their souls by sending strong vibes. Stars were seen everywhere. This spectacular scene would never appear in anybody's imaginations or dreams. Thump, 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 thump. All the planets seemed to have a heart which was throbbing vigorously. The ordinary people living on those planets were screaming and crying. They deemed that it was the wrath of their god to destroy this world entirely. The warriors that couldn't get rid of their planets were desperate and fearful, as they knew they couldn't avoid the doomsday. Not good. Pu Tai was panicking for the first time. When he saw all the planets of the ancient demon star area storming, he finally knew what was going on. Shi Yang had completely fused with Desolate's clone and become the master of this territory. He now was one of the masters who could set up rules. At this moment, Shi Yang was still Shi Yang, but he had an immortal, archaic aura. It was Desolate's aura, the actual master of this territory. P2E. Under the terrible pressure when the stars moved, Pu Tai couldn't help but spurt out blood. The armor on his body had many fine cracks as if it would be shattered at any minute. Boom! A massive life star that was as big as the Grace mainland accelerated and bumped into the Soul Control Island. With that, the Soul Control Island was pressed to crack and shatter. So many souls flew out from the island. Unexpectedly, Ming Hao's souls were there too. It was Ming Hao's soul clones sealed on the island. When the island was broken, they were finally released. Ming Hao's soul clones exploded and then congregated, creating his form magically. Almost at the same time, Ming Hao, who was confined in the endless darkness, could feel that. He couldn't help but laugh crazily. Amidst his laughter, shadows of Ming Hao's souls disappeared, getting rid of the darkness. With the bonds between the souls, his confined souls could gather toward the souls outside. In the next instant, Ming Hao saw the wonder that could destroy the entire star area. Thousands of planets were spinning and barging. Those planets had billions of lives. As the creatures there knew that the world was about to be destroyed, they were crying and screaming, praying for their god to save them. Ming Hao could feel their fears and despair. Ming Hao didn't know what was going on. His eyes moved away and he immediately found Shi Yang with starlight blooming on his body. 720 acupuncture points in Shi Yang's body were shining like stars, moving in the star trajectory on his body. The movement of those acupuncture points seemed to be the ringleaders that had stimulated the stars in desolate territory. Boom, boom, boom. 7 massive stars zoomed over, precisely hitting the 7 islands that represented the death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi power Upanishads. Compared to the real planets, those islands were like a grain of rice standing by a big ball, crushed easily. The 7 islands shattered thoroughly. Looking at the islands of the great inheritances being crushed into powder, Ming Hao gawked as if his eyes were about to fall off his sockets. He was the soul control chief, so he understood the mysteries and intimidation of those islands. Anyway, no matter how strong they were, how could they resist real planets? As the 7 islands were smashed, countless mountains and lands collapsed on the planets. Billions of ordinary people were slaughtered, their souls vanishing shortly. They had lived on their planets for so many years. They had grown crops and bred cattle, as well as having cultivated there. Many of them had never left their lands once in their lives. They were so bitter because they couldn't control their own lives, all vanishing from this world just like that. The 8 islands were broken apart, and Pu Tai's armor turned into powder. He was gory, and his eyes were still bloodthirsty. However, his aura was reduced greatly. He hurried to retrieve the black hole, not daring to linger for a second. Space confine. Shi Yang looked mindful while hovering in the void. Countless stars were spinning wildly around him. His eyes weren't red, as he looked like a glacier that had been frozen for tens of thousands of years. He just pointed at Pu Tai indifferently. The void of the ancient demon star area seemed to become his invisible hand, squeezing Pu Tai's body. Pu Tai couldn't move anymore. Chapter 1487, The Reversed Flow of Time. Chapter 1487, The Reversed Flow of Time. At this moment, all the planets and all beings on them, like plants, creatures, thunder, and lightning, in the ancient demon star area were happy as Shi Yang was happy. They would be touched if Shi Yang were touched, and they would be sad as Shi Yang were as upset. Especially, they would rampage if Shi Yang fell into his rampage phase. He was this world, he was the representative of everything, he was the nature of natural principle. It was the real power of the territory master. Pu Tai in this star area was inside Shi Yang's prison. How could he escape the master's claw? The atmosphere on the stars changed into a hand of a giant god, squeezing Pu Tai maliciously. Crack, crack, boom. Pu Tai's body wasn't as tough as Bloodthirst's body from that year. The massive claw created by the spirit of thousands of creatures had squeezed him into pieces easily. His bones pierced through his skin, bleeding terribly. He looked like a big hedgehog that was beaten pathetically. The incident happened shortly. Shi Yang, who was bound and about to be swallowed, had overturned the situation at the critical moment, now seizing the upper hand. The right time and right location had changed. Shi Yang could now control the entire heaven and earth in his hand. How could Pu Tai defeat him? Who are you? Are you still Shi Yang? You're desolate. Shi Yang, you're a coward. At the critical moment, you are willing to give up yourself, handing yourself into Desolate's hand to deal with me. It's not a proud defeat. Pu Tai's grunt came from the gory chunk of meat. He was completely deformed. I am always me. The 8 colossal planets hovered in the void, moving continually. They looked like 8 ancient gods protecting Shi Yang, assisting him in subduing this entire world. He floated under the 8 planets, coldly looking at Pu Tai. His eyes suddenly looked deep and mysterious, as if they had become 2 deep ponds that could make anybody sink in them. Swoosh! The black hole arose from the crown of his head. It was just as big as a grain of rice at first, but in just a blink of an eye, it swelled up into a pitch-black cave. Just like a massive black diamond, it came and implanted into Pu Tai's head. Sizzle. 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 The devouring power Upanishad was activated. Waves of powerful suction force arose from the black hole. Pu Tai was now a mess of flesh as his soul altar was drawn out of his head slowly. History repeated terrifyingly. Less than 15 minutes ago, Pu Tai had used the same move to deal with Shi Yang. And now, Shi Yang had followed his way, using the devouring power Upanishad to seize his soul altar and obtain his spirit, power Upanishads, and God power, everything Pu Tai had. Oh my God! It has changed so fast. He can move the stars and control the universe. What kind of power is it? It's the power of the Lord of all skies. Pu Tai is going to be doomed now. No. He's not. It's still there. The warriors surrounding the ancient demon continent were frightened. They discussed, their eyes gazing at the dark abyss. Billions of years had passed, and the legend about the absolute beginning creature Devourer had never faded. They said that it was the original god of destruction and evil. The meaning of its existence was to destroy all life stars, whole of the universe. Legends said that the end of the absolute beginning era was related to this original god of evil. Today, Devourer was awakened, hovering above the ancient demon continent and using the devouring power Upanishad to refine one clone of Desolate. He wanted to accomplish his plan of invading Desolate. He was the creator, the ancestor of the devouring clan. Pu Tai was here under his direction. Would he just watch and let Shi Yang refine Pu Tai? Would he be willing to let Bloodthirsty defeat it one more time? Everybody thought that Devourer wouldn't just watch Pu Tai die. They all focused on the dark abyss as they wanted to see what this creature from the absolute beginning era would do. A dark, cold soul energy was emitted from the dark abyss. The dark abyss was like an evil creature from the ancient time that slowly rose up and stretched its body after a long slumber. The dark abyss then fumed a large amount of black smoke, diffusing around. Sizzle. 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 The followers of Devourer, who were nearest to the ancient demon continent, had their bodies and souls dissolved as they hadn't had the time to recognize what had just happened. Their bodies and souls became wisps of smoke, entering the clusters of black smoke. Their tragic, instant deaths made the abyss expand faster. After less than a minute, millions of warriors around the ancient demon star area were dissolved, becoming a part of the dark abyss. As that absolute beginning creature was the grandmaster of the devouring power Upanishad, it could swallow even the world. It was effortless to melt the creatures that had followed it. Arg! Get out of here! Quick! Gosh, it's killing us! It's crazy! The warriors from different clans that had submitted to Pu Tai and Devourer, the creatures living in this desolate territory, screamed desperately while trying to run away for their lives. Boom! 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 All of a sudden, the black hole mark on their foreheads, which they had used to receive the energy, shattered. The heads of warriors who wanted to run away fell off their bodies, exploding like watermelons. Then, their headless bodies were covered by the dark abyss. All of them, including the power from their bodies, souls, and soul altars, had been merged into the dark abyss. Terrifyingly, the dark abyss continued to expand. A piece of the abyss that looked like the cold sea came to Shi Yang, attempting to draw him and Pu Tai into the abyss altogether. At this moment, Shi Yang was using the devouring power Upanishad, trying to refine Pu Tai. Looking at the dark abyss coming close, he knew it was the wrath of Devourer, the absolute beginning creature. In just a short time, Devourer had absorbed the power from all of his followers. His body expanded, overshadowing the entire star area. As soon as the dark abyss reached the stars in the ancient demon star area, Shi Yang lost the control of those stars instantly. Devourer wanted to swallow and refine the ancient demon star area entirely. Seeing millions of warriors killed and billions of ordinary people dead because of his attack on Pu Tai, his eyes were calm and indifferent. He finally understood that in the eyes of the existences at Devourer and Desolate's level, the lowly creatures like him and his friends were just like tiny ants. They would never care about their lives or deaths. Just like butchers killing the cattle to feed, They had slaughtered the members of different races to achieve their goals. Desolate and Devour weren't different from each other in this aspect. They didn't mind the lives of ordinary people. Because they got the power to create new lives and new creatures, they didn't need to care. Devour was now the dark abyss, which was reaching further and further. It was really close to Shiyang. However, at this moment, he had to concentrate on swallowing Pu Tai. He didn't have extra effort to resist Devour. Right at this moment, he pitched his voice. I've crossed thousands of miles to the Sea of Annihilation to invite you here, not to give you a chance to watch the fun. I got you here to give a hand at this moment. What are you waiting for? A grey-brown asteroid flashed amidst the current of asteroids. Montesi, Hero, and Gay turned into the outer space streamers, heading toward the dark abyss. Montesi, Hero. Can't believe you're here. Inside a thickly dark area, Forefather Labit of the Devouring Clan screamed in fright. He was enraged on seeing Shiyang control the entire world and Ming Hao escaping, and was startled when he saw Montesi, Hero, and Gay. Labit felt uneasy, finding the situation getting out of control. Montesi and Hero had added more variables to desolate territory at this moment. Their variables could make the Devouring Clan's 10,000-year plan a big failure. It's just Labit, who cultivates dark power Upanishad. We're still lucky that Edgar isn't here. Or else, it'd be more trouble. Seeing him, Montesi exhaled in relief. She knew that at the first sky of Territory Ancestor Realm, Labit couldn't stop them. Gay. You deal with Labit, assigned Hero. Okay. Gay of the Whitebone Clan and Labit were both at the first sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. He nodded on receiving the order. Absolute Beginning Creature Devour. In the Absolute Beginning era, you were already infamous. Your mission is to destroy and terminate. You had contributed to the end of the Absolute Beginning era. Anyway, it's different now. In this new era, you're outdated. You will die one after another, as it's predestined. It's the rule of development, the rule of time, history, heaven and earth, something that no one can change. Montesi's petite body released an immense, white moonlight. The void behind her appeared like bands of streamers as if time was flying fast. Behind Montesi, time seemed to reverse as the ultimate change of heaven and earth. It was utterly strange when so many shadows of crowd Devour had killed previously suddenly emerged like a rewound movie. The extending dark abyss shrunk fast above the ancient demon continent. Time in that area suddenly reversed, and countless wisps of grey smoke and mist fumed out of the dark abyss. It was the heaven and earth energy of the ancient demon continent Devour had taken in previously. At this moment, Devour spat out parts of the ancient demon continent he had swallowed. It was what had happened dozens of years ago. Montesi looked around 11 or 12 years old, but she had mastered the time power Upanishad, just like Xia Xinyang. However, since she was at the Territory Ancestor Realm, she could even reverse time. Although Shiyang had fused with the origin of the Grace Mainland, one of Desolate's clones, he was aghast. He understood that Montesi could only make the energy reverse when she rewound time. She couldn't recover lives that were lost. The shadows of the dead warriors were created with energy, so they didn't have a soul or intelligence. Montesi could reverse time to distort the energy circulation, but she couldn't do that to save lives. No matter what, this power Upanishad was really mighty. Chapter 1488, Swallow. Chapter 1488, Swallow. The time-reversing power had applied only on Devour, causing it to spit out all kinds of energies it had absorbed. The pure heaven and earth energy from the ancient demon continent it had nibbled was released as well. It was an extremely formidable power Upanishad. Everybody watched from a far distance and found many illusory shadows by the edge of the ancient demon continent. Those people that were killed reappeared without the souls or intelligence under the effects of time power Upanishad, as they were created with pure energy. Shiyang was nearest to that area, and he had mastered devouring power Upanishad. His eyes brightened, talking to Montesi, "Thank you." He then immediately devoured the energy that had just returned. Countless crystal light balls, which were manifestations of energy, flew into the black cave like a sprinkle. Shi Yang had swallowed them all. You're welcome. This amount of energy should be enough for you to awaken the 2 precursors of the Whitebone clan. I'm just doing you a favor. Montesi giggled while zooming over the dark abyss like a dark shadow. Behind her, the current of time was still rising high, distorting the rule of time in this world. Xian He, Frederick, and De Carlos looked at the magnificent bands of light from the distance, their scalps turning numb. Montesi in the shape of a little girl had frightened them greatly. Power of time. It's the real power of time. My master had searched for a long time, but he had never seen the real power of time. I can't believe I'm lucky enough to witness it today. De Carlos had cultivated space power Upanishad to the 2nd sky of Immortal Realm. He looked shocked when he recalled something. No wonder why she had eyed Xia Xinyang strangely as soon as that little girl came to the Grace mainland. Turns out that's the cause. No wonder her eyes got brightened. When Montesi had arrived in the Grace mainland, Xia Xinyang was there as well. At that time, Montesi had scrutinized the latter just like treasure lovers looked at rare gemstones, her eyes sparkling. Montesi had concealed well, not showing anything. Perhaps, she was waiting to take the next step after the situation in Desolate Territory was stabilized. But, De Carlos had paid attention. He had secretly helped Xia Xinyang reach the incipient god realm by giving her pure energy, and did have a plan. But, he didn't know why Montesi had laid her eyes on Xia Xinyang. Although he was at the 2nd sky of Immortal Realm, he couldn't know about Montesi's realm. Thus, he was confused all the time. But now, he finally got it. In this vast galaxy, the warriors cultivating time power Upanishads were even lesser than the ones cultivating space power Upanishad. Sometimes, the entire star area didn't have even one expert using this power Upanishad. It was because the time power Upanishad was very magical. There was no book or record showing the way to obtain and cultivate this power. Each warrior with this power Upanishad often had extremely complicated background and encounters. Not many people could understand the time power Upanishad. The one who could cultivate it to the high realm were as rare as unicorn horns or the phoenix feathers. Montesi was from the top echelon of the Phantom clan, but she hadn't found any member with the talent of learning time power Upanishad in her clan. She was worried because she couldn't find a successor. She had wandered and sought in many territories, but still got nothing. Unexpectedly, after arriving at the Desolate Territory this time, the moment she landed on the Grace mainland, she immediately found an expert who cultivated time power Upanishad at the incipient god realm. Moreover, she was a beautiful young lady, nothing could be more perfect. At that moment, Montesi had made up her mind. Even if she had to steal her, she had to bring her away. She thought that even though she couldn't get anything from this trip to Desolate Territory, as long as she could take Xia Xinyang, it would be worth it all already. Because of the everlasting inheritance it is, I should have thought about it. De Carlos looked at Montesi, his face bitter. Seems like I can't fulfill my teacher's wish. How can I be compared to Montesi? Sigh, never mind. De Carlos' teacher was defeated by Bloodthirsty, and he died not long after that. Before his master died, he had found a secret technique. He assumed that if someone could combine the space and time power Upanishad, he could seal the entire world completely. He could seal every creature. He had imparted De Carlos that secret technique and hoped that he could test it. Unfortunately, De Carlos didn't cultivate the time power Upanishad. He couldn't check or practice that technique to see if it was possible or not. When he found Xia Xinyang, he wanted to give her his master's secret technique. Although he couldn't cultivate the time power Upanishad, he could teach her space power Upanishad. He hoped that Xia Xinyang could cultivate both space and time power Upanishad one day so that she could test that theory and technique, and finally fulfill his teacher's wish. But now, seeing Montesi's performance and her intention of making Xia Xinyang her successor, he knew that he would never become Xia Xinyang's teacher. Hero. Montesi screamed from the dark abyss as she was maintaining her time reserving power to wear out Devour. She wanted to use time power Upanishad to pull Devour back to the stage. He was wounded so badly that he had to stay dormant. Then, Hero, the expert cultivating metal power Upanishad who was famous for his destructive power, would crush Devour into pieces. Hero of the White Bone clan had a snow-white bone body, shining like a star in the dark abyss. The rays of light from him carried the extremely destructive power of metal in the world. They could pierce through and explode everything, including the absolute beginning creatures. His rays of starlight were created by his soul energy and god power. The pure soul energy with the support from the god power could obliterate the entire territory. Although Shi Yang was swallowing the energy from the dead creatures, he could feel the ancient demon star area like a sheet of fabric pricked by sharp knives. Hero's sharp metal power was so formidable. Montesi and Hero were two of the 10 great territory ancestors of the sea domain of nihility. They were the peerless existences in the sea domain of nihility, the proud demons, from a certain aspect. As they had joined hands, Devour was subdued. If Ancestor hadn't been wounded after years of fighting against Desolate, how could you have been his match? It's really bad that Edgar isn't here. Damn it. Lebete of the Devouring clan was fighting Gay. He was so impulsive when Devour was subdued by Montesi and Hero, that his soul was about to shatter. He knew that if Devour finished refining the ancient demon continent and the god-blessed mainland, he could recover half of his power. And, if he could take in the Grace mainland and Desolate, he would reach his peak once again, maybe even leap up. At that time, Devour could rule over the entire sea domain of nihility, making all creatures and races submit to him. The other 6 clans couldn't resist Devour, and would have become Devours, or the Devouring clan's servant. Unfortunately, Shi Yang had the guts to cooperate with Montesi and Hero, bringing them to Desolate territory to destroy the plan the Devouring clan had spent a lot of efforts, and even deaths, to prepare during 10,000 years. It made Lebete outraged. He had made up his mind. He would sacrifice his life to destroy Shi Yang and release Pu Tai. Then, Pu Tai could use his soul power to connect with the forbidden land of the Devouring clan to bring Edgar here. Right at the moment he had decided to do that, Mai Ji and Emperor Sea Shark had seen his motivation. They didn't watch anymore, flying toward him to join Gay. They all attacked Lebete, giving him no chance to self-detonate and kill Shi Yang. The dark abyss above the ancient demon continent that seemed like the sea of jet-black clouds was shrinking. Beams of energy dripped from the dark clouds like lines of rain falling onto the ancient demon continent. The dried, dead trees on the continent sprouted, and the grass began to grow on the cold, barren lands. Everything was revived. The ancient demon continent that was about to be swallowed like an ancient creature facing death was rescued. The dark abyss, Devour, was shrinking as if it was about to stay quiescent. At this moment, Pu Tai's soul altar was finally drawn out. Pu Tai's soul altar was magical. Under his host soul was the incipient extent which looked like the dark abyss. However, it had a viscous, vast blood sea where floated 9 islands. Those islands had the sacrificial altars that represented the 8 evil power Upanishads and the devouring power Upanishad. Under the incipient extent was the tier of power Upanishads, which looked even stranger. It had 9 masses of air, the appearances of the great power Upanishads. Underneath was the sea of consciousness which had a soul pond containing the dark energy. That soul pond was bigger than Shi Yang's. Get in. Pu Tai's soul altar entered Shi Yang's devouring power Upanishad. With a cold face, he rose his hand to snatch. Pu Tai had become a mess of bleeding flesh. A ring flew out of that bloody thing, returning to Shi Yang's hand. It was the ring spirit. You. A beast roar suddenly reverberated from nowhere and a wild beast appeared by Pu Tai's body suddenly that looked like a ferocious flood dragon. It was several hundred meters long, covered in rigid scales. This beast had an enormous amount of life energy. It emerged all of a sudden as if it had torn the space to come here, and then swallowed Pu Tai in just one bite. That beast had a pair of neon green eyes which were gazing at Shi Yang. As the latter gazed back at it, it slowly disappeared into the void. The beast came and swallowed Pu Tai, then left shortly. All the warriors on the scene were shocked. Pu Tai had Wedderson's body, which had a lot of Bloodthirstis remains. It had contained all of Bloodthirstis essence. Shi Yang hadn't placed his hand on the dead body, but the beast that came out of nowhere had taken it. Nobody could accept this sudden incident. Shi Yang was puzzled while looking in the direction the beast had just disappeared. He had a familiar feeling toward it indeed. That beast's aura gave him a trail of something dear to him. Ghost Hunter. That's Ghost Hunter. He's changed greatly, but that's his aura. Can't be wrong. Azure Dragon screamed hoarsely. Ghost Hunter had disappeared for 100 years. He had eaten Kang Yun and gotten the origin of the ancient demon continent. Why is he here? His aura is really powerful, much stronger than any one of us. What happened to him after all? Xian, he screamed in fright. Besides Death Power Upanishad, Xian he had also mastered Life Power Upanishad. Although Ghost Hunter had just revealed his body in a short glimpse, Xian he could recognize the enormous life energy in his body, which was much stronger than him and Frederick, and even more abundant than the holy beast Azure Dragon, who had lived 10,000 years. What had happened to Ghost Hunter after he had disappeared for 100 years? What made him so intimidating? Chapter 1489, Third Sky of Immortal Realm. Chapter 1489, Third Sky of Immortal Realm. Shi Yang didn't dare to confirm, but he got it when Azure Dragon mentioned that. It was Ghost Hunter. The beast that had appeared out of nowhere was Ghost Hunter. That was Ghost Hunter's real body, but enlarged hundreds of times. Nevertheless, the icy, brutal aura stayed the same. But why could Ghost Hunter tear the space to come here? Why could he move freely like that? And why did he have to swallow Pu Tai? He had so many doubts that he hated he couldn't hoist Ghost Hunter here to interrogate. Ghost Hunter's sudden appearance had frightened many people. And that was because the aura on Ghost Hunter today was extremely formidable. The warriors at Ming Hong and Xian his level would have to struggle hard to resist Ghost Hunter. His life energy could be compared to a territory ancestor. Thump, 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 thump. The throbbing explosions arose from inside the ancient demon continent. That grumbling rhythm was so strange that normal people couldn't perceive it, only Shi Yang and Audrey could feel it. They couldn't help but focus on the ancient demon continent. Swish. A shining crack was torn underneath the ancient demon continent like a beast opening its mouth. The ancient demon continent plunged, sinking and disappearing into that slit. It was exactly what had just happened to Ghost Hunter. Ghost Hunter had killed Kang Yun and obtained the origin of the ancient demon continent, so he now had a magical bond with that ancient continent. At this moment, Ghost Hunter and the ancient demon continent had left this star area altogether. Everybody had a strange, curious light in their eyes. Montesi pulled herself together to observe, her face astonished. She suddenly found that the ancient demon continent seemed to have a life as if it was a person getting up after a long sleep. It came with waves of ancient life energy. Star wheel ceases. The suns, moons, and stars in the sky ceased. Behind Shi Yang, countless stars hovered in the void like massive rocks. Shi Yang stood neatly on an ash-gray asteroid. The black hole shrank little by little, entering his soul altar. A marvelous, indescribable feeling arose in his soul. The electric pulses of memory related to the devouring clan and other knowledge flashed in his brain. In less than a minute, he knew many secrets of the devouring clan. He knew it was the memory from Pu Tai, the young chief of the devouring clan, the one who came here with a great mission. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. His black hole moved, and the memory in Pu Tai's soul altar was extracted bit by bit. Pu Tai's soul seal was erased, everything of his being washed away. Shi Yang had a strange, magical light on his face. He looked happy as he found that his black hole had absorbed and refined Pu Tai much faster than he had thought. Perhaps it was because of their origin. After Pu Tai's sea of consciousness was cleared up, it murmured while pouring down from the black hole into Shi Yang's sea of consciousness like a heavenly waterfall. This flow of energy helped Shi Yang's sea of consciousness expand unceasingly. The soul pond that contained Pu Tai's pure soul energy also ran into Shi Yang's soul pond. Shortly, Shi Yang's sea of consciousness had been doubled, and his dark energy had grown greatly. The 8 crystal balls representing the 8 power Upanishads were shining while spinning inside the black hole. Eventually, they sank into Shi Yang's tier of power Upanishads. Soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi power Upanishads had arrived there, creating an octagonal formation with the death power Upanishad merged with Shiyang's available death power Upanishad, and the black hole of the devouring power Upanishad worshipped in the center. The flood currents with the memory, understandings, and profound experiences had all entered Shiyang's soul. He now had a deep perception of Pu Tai toward the 8 power Upanishads and the magical abilities of the soul control, death, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi power Upanishads. He received them, making them his possessions. Pu Tai's power Upanishads, memories, and soul energy were absorbed fast, becoming a part of Shiyang. Shiyang now had a strange but wonderful feeling. He knew he was complete now. He knew he had finally and officially received bloodthirstis inheritance. He got it all now. The blood vein ring must have kept the 8 great, evil power Upanishads. After Pu Tai had swallowed the ring spirit, he had stopped it from sending all the powers to him. That was why he had comprehended only the death and devouring power Upanishads. He hadn't received the inheritances of the other power Upanishads. Devouring and the 8 evil powers were one entity that shouldn't be divided. Having all of them, the warrior could use the strongest and fiercest abilities. He had swallowed everything from Pu Tai. With the new comprehension of the 8 power Upanishads, his soul slowly sublimated while his god power ancient tree was changed greatly. Third sky of immortal realm, Shiyang laughed while lifting his head to observe the stars in the sky. His line of sight raked from Montesi, Hero, to the dark abyss, then to Xian He, Ming Hong, and the others. He suddenly felt so excited. Today, he was fully deserving of being the new master of Bloodthirstis Force. He had fused the devouring power Upanishad with the 8 evil power Upanishads, finally succeeding Bloodthirsty. He was even more intimidating and full of potential than Bloodthirsty, because he had also mastered the star, life, and space power Upanishads, which were the powers that could turn the desolate territory upside down. I need to strengthen my realm. He flashed and reappeared by Xian He and Frederick. Then, he deliberately sat down cross-legged, closing his eyes. Guard me. All right. Xian He and Frederick replied, instinctively agreeing. Then, Xian He and Frederick exchanged looks and saw fright in each other's eyes. They had just had a magical feeling. It felt as if their former master Bloodthirsty had just ordered him, which they had obeyed instinctively. They looked at Shiyang in astonishment. He has swallowed Pu Tai, finally and officially inheriting everything of master. Perhaps he'll be even stronger than our master in the future. Ming Hong's gloomy shadow swayed, his eyes respectful. He pondered for seconds, then respectfully kneeled. I, Ming Hong, welcome new master. Today, he had officially acknowledged Shiyang's position and lowered his proud head. Xian He and Frederick were bewildered, but they reacted timely, kneeling in front of Shiyang like Ming Hong and speaking in unison. Welcome, new master. From now on, they would follow Shiyang and serve him as the new master of the bloodthirsty force and their new master. Today, Shiyang had used his realm, competence, and power Upanishads to prove that he had the qualifications. Qualifications were formed from his power, and Shiyang's power now was enough to support his qualifications. Rise, all of you. Shiyang sat still, slowly closing his eyes and focusing. His will came toward the new power Upanishads he had just received, to stabilize his new realm. After killing and swallowing Pu Tai, he had advanced to the next level, entering the third sky of immortal realm. He had harvested the 7 power Upanishads, including soul control, corrosion, dark, chaos, destruction, despair, and corpse chi. He needed time to digest and comprehend them. He didn't even mind devour much, since he hoped that Hero and Montesi could kill or refine him. Hero, be prepared. Montesi urged her power. Inside the torrential current of time behind her, more and more energies rose. After the ancient demon continent disappeared, the dark abyss, devour, shrank continually. At this moment, it was just a small piece which looked condensed and silent. Xian He and Frederick saw the dark abyss return to the shape they were familiar with, looking dead. Inside the dark abyss, The endless blood sea arose and blood bubbled. Each of them seemed to have a soul and consciousness. The blood bubbles moved and congregated, creating a blood vacuum area. All of a sudden, a low-pitched, mysterious whining voice arose deep inside the blood sea. A cluster of blood light appeared inside that bubble, shining dazzlingly. Deep inside the sea domain of nihility, in the ancestral land of the Devouring Clan, an old man of the Devouring Clan was soaking in a blood pond. The bubbles in the pond floated up into the sky and created a big bubble in front of him. His crimson eyes flared with anger. "I can't believe someone dares to disturb our ancestor." He turned into a drop of scarlet blood, falling into the bubble. The blood bubble blasted, and he disappeared altogether. In the next moment, a drop of blood appeared inside the bubble above the blood sea inside Devour on the ancient demon continent. That drop of blood wiggled, growing into a man from the Devouring Clan. This man in his 30s had a sinister face as he walked out of the blood sea. A bloodthirsty aura shot out of his head as a warning, in the form of a thick smoke column. A blood light bloomed from the dark abyss and pierced through everything as it expanded, covering the entire area. Montesi's time power Upanishad was hindered. She couldn't continue to channel her power when a blood hue dyed her current of time. "Edgar! Edgar is coming!" Montesi's face changed drastically, yelling, "Edgar! Edgar's here!" Hero was frightened as well. He didn't hesitate, immediately storming into the thick blood sea and finding Edgar. "Montesi! Hero! You dare to attack our Devouring Clan's ancestor! You come to this desolate territory to court death." Edgar's wild grunt echoed around the star area. "Master Edgar, Pu Tai's dead. Young Chief is dead." Labit screamed. "My son is dead. How is he dead?" Edgar roared as if he had a serious mental illness or was an enraged beast. His roars had pressed the space to crack like a broken mirror, exploding several stars around. Inside the surging blood torrent, Edgar surfed the wave, his body dripping with blood as he shouted, Who killed my son?" Edgar, the current chief of the Devouring Clan, was also one of the 10 great territory ancestors in the sea domain of nihility, and Pu Tai was his son. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.